Prince George. Edward, the Queen's uncle, and George, her father, had another brother who was also called George, and he was known as the Duke of Kent. Unlike most other members of this family, George, the Duke of Kent, lived a relatively controversial lifestyle, which was said to be of concern to the others. It was reported that George had a long list of lovers, including both men and women. He loved to party and was also a hard user of illegal substances. This gossip, alleged to be true by some sources, is said to have upset the royal family at the time. But the real story that the Queen would probably rather no one discuss is how George passed. He lost his life in a plane crash in 1942, but several theories suggest that due to his controversial lifestyle, he was assassinated. Now, we have to understand that this could be a hoax or propaganda due to the royals being in the spotlight, but I have read about how tight their security is, and accidents, although do happen, the royals are good at avoiding them. So this accident does make you think. But I will also say that George sounded like a party animal, and George sounds like the guy I wish was in the throne. But I still love the late Queen. God rest her soul. Harry went to rehab. You might not have known that Prince Harry struggled with the pressure of his life as he grew up and ended up turning to underage drinking and the use of illegal substances to help him cope. When he was just 17, Harry came clean to his father, Prince Charles, now King Charles, and in response, his dad had him visit the Featherstone Lodge and Rehabilitation Centre in South London. He didn't receive any treatment and only took a tour and listened to the patient's stories, but it helped him understand the magnitude of his actions. We think that while the late Queen might not want this to be discussed, it's actually a good thing. Harry went through what a lot of teenagers do and dealt with it head on, rather than covering it up and letting it fester into a much bigger problem. Kudos to you, Harry, and kudos to King Charles for putting his son through something tough to bring him out a better man in the long run. The Queen's sister. The late Queen Elizabeth was arguably the most perfect person in the family, judging by the way that she presented herself to the public. She also seemed to say and do the right thing and was never really caught in an embarrassing moment. Her late sister, Princess Margaret, was a bit of a different story. While Elizabeth is known for calculating every step she makes and controlling every detail, Margaret was more of a carefree person in her younger years. Sources report that she even started smoking and drinking at the age of 15 and was more concerned with living the life she wanted rather than what was expected of her. She was married in 1960 and then began an affair with a gardener 17 years younger than her. 16 years into her marriage. While the late Queen Elizabeth's marriage to Prince Philip lasted 70 years, Princess Margaret was divorced after 18. Princess Anne's dog. The Queen's only daughter, Princess Anne, might be more careful about getting caught up in scandals than her brothers, King Charles and Prince Andrews and Prince Edward, but she hasn't been able to totally escape the tabloids. The princess came under fire in 2002 when one of her English Bull Terriers got loose while she was putting it in her car and attacked two young boys nearby. After the incident, the princess and her husband were taken to court and ordered to pay a fine, which went down in history as the first time a senior royal was charged with a criminal offense. The fine was the extent of the punishment, which angered the families of the victims in 2003. The same dog tragically attacked and took the life of one of the late Queen's most treasured corgis. Pro who cousins? The late Queen's father, George, became King of England when his brother, King Edward, abdicated his throne on December the 10th, 1936, to marry Wallis Simpson, a divorcee from America. Following this, the couple was basically disowned by the rest of the family, and the public went into exile. Recent findings show that there is even more to just a love story. Edward and Wallis weren't fit to be rulers of the United Kingdom because of other interests and beliefs that they held. It's been alleged that the two were German soldier sympathizers, and I'm not talking 2020 German soldiers, I'm talking frickin' way back. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, let's get it going. Fueled by Edward's pride of his German heritage and Wallis's love affair with a, again, German soldier before meeting Edward, the couple visited the man, the dictator himself, in October of 1937, and it's been said that The dictator wanted to put Edward back on this British throne as his own puppet. Club. Zara Phillips is the daughter of Princess Anne, making her granddaughter to the Queen, and the first cousin to Prince William and Harry. Though her distance from the throne also gives her distance from paparazzi, she still has found herself caught up in the odd scandal or two. The most notable incident was when her husband, Mike Tyndall, went to New Zealand with the English rugby team. After his team won over Argentina, Mike went to a little person tossing contest, a little person tossing club with his teammate. Of course, the public response to this was huge, ironically, even before celebrities like Peter Dinklage had raised awareness as how barbaric the concept is, which it is. The British public did not approve. Mike maintains that he did not participate in the little person tossing, nor did anybody on his team, but the public and family were still unimpressed, which is fair. Prince George. Edward, the Queen's uncle, and George, her father, had another brother who was also called George, and he was known as the Duke of Kent. Unlike most other members of this family, George, the Duke of Kent, lived a relatively controversial lifestyle, which was said to be of concern to the others. It was reported that George had a long list of lovers, including both men and women. He loved to party and was also a hard user of illegal substances. This gossip, alleged to be true by some sources, is said to have upset the royal family at the time. But the real story that the Queen would probably rather no one discuss is how George passed. He lost his life in a plane crash in 1942, but several theories suggest that due to his controversial lifestyle, he was assassinated. Now, we have to understand that this could be a hoax or propaganda due to the royals being in the spotlight, but I have read about how tight their security is, and accidents, although do happen, the royals are good at avoiding them. So this accident does make you think. But I will also say that George sounded like a party animal, and George sounds like the guy I wish was in the throne. But I still love the late Queen. God rest her soul. Princess Anne's dog. The Queen's only daughter, Princess Anne, might be more careful about getting caught up in scandals than her brothers, King Charles and Prince Andrews and Prince Edward, but she hasn't been able to totally escape the tabloids. The princess came under fire in 2002 when one of her English Bull Terriers got loose while she was putting it in her car and attacked two young boys nearby. After the incident, the princess and her husband were taken to court and ordered to pay a fine, which went down in history as the first time a senior royal was charged with a criminal offense. The fine was the extent of the punishment, which angered the families of the victims in 2003. The same dog tragically attacked and took the life of one of the late Queen's most treasured corgis. Hidden cousins. The issue of mental illness has traditionally been taboo, and though the royal family are now more open to discussing the realities of it, we're not so sure that that would have happened if a member of the family was diagnosed with any mental or intellectual condition. But back in the 1940s, two members of the family were born with disabilities. They were hardly spoken about in public. Nerissa and Catherine Bowes were first cousins to the late Queen and nieces to her mother. Suffering from mental disabilities, the girls were put into homes that would care for them and were hardly ever mentioned by any members of the family. The nurses at the institutions claimed that no family members came to see the girls, but the family denies this. I do believe that they may have hidden some cousins or some family members in the past, and this is kind of disgusting to hear about. I do believe that the royals have hidden families in the past, and honestly, if you look into the history, there's a lot of underlying issues that could have brought up these hidden family members. Now, I will say that protocol does kind of claim for people in the royal family to be very tight-knit, and they have to do everything very organized. So it would have been taboo in their eyes, not in my eyes, not in everyone else's eyes, because obviously being mentally disabled is not something that should be hidden, and the royals are very disgusting for doing that, I might add. But they did it because they want to hold a good image. Hiding family members because of mental disabilities is just very taboo in my eyes, even if you think them having mental disabilities is taboo in the royals' eyes. I don't agree with that. It's something they can't control at birth. Accept them into your family, show the spotlight to them, and honestly, that could have been a very good opportunity to raise awareness for the mental disabilities that these cousins could have had. Vlad III, known endearly as Vlad the Impaler, is said to be inspiration behind the story of the vampire in Bram Stoker's Dracula. The tyrant was found of torturing his subjects and used to dip his bread in their blood. The current royals are related to him through Princess Mary of Teck, the late Queen Elizabeth's grandmother. She was a descendant of two of Vlad's sons, which makes Prince Charles a great-grandson. 16 times removed to Vlad. While the Queen might not want to remind people of this, King Charles has happily commented that he has Transylvania in his blood and has even bought a farmhouse in a rural Romania village near the location of Vlad's old castle. Bad blood. Diana's interview and voice recordings say one thing, and the royal family says another, so we'll never know for certain exactly what went down between the People's Princess and the family of her ex-husband. But I think we can safely assume that whatever happened, Diana's family haven't forgotten her and aren't on the best terms with the Windsors. Evidence of this was clear at the wedding between Diana's son, Prince William, and Kate Middleton. Diana's brother and a few other relatives were invited. As far as the reports go, they chose to sit on Kate's side. Being Diana's family, they should have sat on the groom's side of the church, but appeared to want little to do with his family as physically possible. That doesn't scream bad blood. We don't know what does. When I say we, I don't know who I'm referring to. I don't know what does. Epileptic prince. While each generation of the royal family has their share of problems, just like any other family, it seems the Queen Elizabeth's father's generation was particularly troubled, not only for his brother Edward consorting with German soldiers and his brother George killed in a plane crash, but his younger brother John suffered from epilepsy. John was kept at the family's estate in Sandringham, accompanied by only a nurse, Charlotte Bill, and a male orderly. When he was brought to London to see doctors, he was transported in a car with the blinds drawn. He was kept out of the family photographs taken at Buckingham Palace, and only a few photos of him have been found. Sadly, Prince John passed away at age 13, and while most of his family was devastated, it's been alleged that Edward showed no interest in mourning his little brother, who was referred to as the Animal. I think it's a more suitable name to call him Twitch. Thank you for watching. 10 secrets the royal family will never expose. Epileptic prince. While each generation of the royal family has their share of problems, just like any other family, it seems that the late Queen Elizabeth's father's generation was particularly troubled. Not only was his brother Edward consorting with a certain German soldier, and his brother George passed away in a plane crash, but his younger brother John suffered from epilepsy. John was kept at the family estate in Sandringham, accompanied only by nurse Charlotte Bill and a male orderly. When he was brought to London to see doctors, he was transported in a car with the blinds drawn. He was kept out of the family photos taken at Buckingham Palace, and only a few photos of him have been found. Sadly, Prince John passed away at the age of 13, and while most of his family was devastated, it's been alleged that Edward showed no interest in mourning his little brother, who was also referred to as the Animal. I think a more suitable name would have been Twitch. Bad blood. Diana's interview and voice recordings say one thing, and the royal family says another, so we'll never know for certain what exactly went down between the People's Princess and the family of her ex-husband. But we safely assume that whatever happened, Diana's family haven't forgotten her, and aren't on best terms with the Windsors. Evidence of this was clear at the wedding between Diana's son Prince William and Kate Middleton. Diana's brother and a few other relatives were invited, but as far as the reports go, they chose to sit on Kate's side. Being Diana's family, they should have sat on the groom's side of the church, but apparently to want as little to do with the family as physically possible. If that doesn't scream bad blood, I don't know what does. Vampire. This explains so much. Vlad III, known endearingly as Vlad the Impaler, is said to be the inspiration behind the story of the vampire in Bram Stoker's Dracula. The tyrant was fond of torturing his subjects and used to dip his bread in their blood. The current royals are related to him, though Princess Mary of Teck, Queen Elizabeth's grandmother, she was a descendant of 2 of Vlad's sons, which makes King Charles a great-grandson, 16 times removed to Vlad. While the late queen might not want to remind people of this, King Charles has happily commented that he has Transylvania in his blood, and has even bought a farmhouse in the Royal Romania village near the location of Vlad's old castle. Hidden cousins. The issue of mental illness has traditionally been taboo, and though the royal family are now more open to discussing the realities of it, we're not so sure that that would have happened if a member of the family was diagnosed with any mental or intellectual condition. But back in the 1940s, 2 members of the family were born with disabilities. They were hardly spoken about in public. Nerissa and Catherine Bowes were first cousins to the late queen and nieces to her mother. Suffering from mental disabilities, the girls were put into homes that would care for them and were hardly ever mentioned by any members of the family. The nurses at the institutions claimed that no family members came to see the girls, but the family denies this. I do believe that they might have hidden some cousins or some family members in the past, and this is kind of disgusting to hear about. I do believe that the royals have hidden families in the past, and honestly, if you look into the history, there's a lot of underlying issues that could have brought up these hidden family members. Now, I will say that protocol does kind of claim for people in the royal family to be very tight-knit, and they have to do everything very organized. So it would have been taboo in their eyes, not in my eyes, not in everyone else's eyes, because obviously being mentally disabled is not something that should be hidden, and the royals are very disgusting for doing that, I might add. But they did it because they want to hold a good image. Hiding family members because of mental disabilities is just very taboo in my eyes, even if you think them having mental disabilities is taboo in the royals' eyes. I don't agree with that. It's something they can't control at birth. Accept them into your family, show the spotlight to them, and honestly, that could have been a very good opportunity to raise awareness for the mental disabilities that these cousins could have had. Club. Zara Phillips is the daughter of Princess Anne, making her granddaughter to the late queen and first cousin to Prince William and Harry. Through her distance from the throne, it also gives her distance from paparazzi. She still has found herself caught up in a scandal or two. The most notable incident was when her husband Mike Tyndall went to New Zealand with the English rugby team. After his team won over Argentina, Mike went to a little person tossing club with his teammates. Of course, the public response to this was huge, even before celebrities like Peter Dinklage had raised awareness on how barbaric the concept is. The British public obviously did not approve. Mike maintained that he didn't partake in any little person tossing, nor did anyone on his team. But the public and family were still unimpressed. Personally, don't hate me, but I'd check it out. I wouldn't agree with what they're doing, but like, I'm curious. I'm gonna search this up right after I'm done filming this video. Pro-who cousins? The late Queen's father, George, became King of England when his brother King Edward evicted his throne on December 10th, 1936, to marry Wallis Simpson, a divorcee from America. Following this, the couple was basically disowned by the rest of the family, and the public went into exile. Recent findings show that this is more than just a love story. Edward and Wallis weren't fit to be rulers of the United Kingdom because of their other interests and beliefs that they held. It's alleged that the two were German soldier sympathizers. Fueled by Edward's pride of his Germany heritage and Wallis's love affair with a German soldier before meeting Edward, the couple visited the ruler himself in October of 1937, and it's been said that this dictator wanted to put Edward back on the British throne as his own puppet. I think Edward would have got along with Kanye West very, very well. Princess Anne's dog. The late Queen's only daughter, Princess Anne, might be more careful about getting caught up in scandals than her brothers, King Charles, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. But she hasn't been able to totally escape the tabloids. The princess came under fire in 2002 when one of her English Bull Terriers got loose while she was putting it in her car. It attacked 2 boys nearby. After the incident, the princess and her husband were taken to court in order to pay a fine, which went down in history as the first time a senior royal was charged with a criminal offense. The fine was the extent of the punishment, which angered the families of the victims in 2003. The same dog tragically took the life of one of the late Queen's most treasured corgis. And if you know anything about the late Queen, she loved her corgis. You would think that they have nannies, they have personal chefs, they have everything that you could ever ask for if you were rich, famous, and needed staff. But they couldn't train dogs. My dog's trained, and I'm poor. The Queen's sister, the late Queen Elizabeth, was arguably the most perfect person in the family. Judging by the way she presents herself to the public, she always seems to say and do the right things and is never caught in an embarrassing moment. Her late sister, Princess Margaret, was a different story. While the late Queen is known for calculating every step she makes and controlling every detail, Margaret was more carefree in her younger years. Sources report that she started smoking and drinking at the age of 15. I like you already, Margaret. And was more concerned with living the life that she wanted rather than what was expected of her. She married in 1960 and then began an affair with a gardener 17 years younger than her, 16 years into her marriage. While the late Queen's marriage to Prince Philip lasted 70 years, Princess Margaret was divorced after 18. Now, Princess Margaret sounds like she should be the one in the spotlight because, oh my goodness, keeping up with the Kardashians just got boring after hearing how fun she was. Harry went to rehab. You might not have known that, but Prince Harry struggled with the pressures of his life as he grew up. He ended up turning to underage drinking and the use of illegal substances to help him cope. When he was just 17, Harry came clean to his father, Prince Charles, and in response, his dad had him visit a Featherstone Lodge and Rehabilitation Center in South London. He didn't receive any treatment and only took a tour and listened to patient stories, but it helped him understand the magnitude of his actions. We think that while the late Queen might not want this to be discussed, it's actually a good thing. Harry went through what a lot of teenagers do and deal with, and dealt with it head on rather than just covering it up and letting it fester into a much bigger problem. I agree, it is good that Harry went to rehab and kind of nipped it in the bud. Obviously, his mother passed away, he dealt with paparazzi his whole life. I'm not going to say that substance abuse was the answer, but it is an easy rabbit hole for him to fall into when dealing with stuff and stress like that, at a young age especially. Now, I'm glad that his dad kind of highlighted this issue, brought him to rehab, and he kind of got clean. I'm not going to say he didn't enjoy some parties because we've seen multiple scandals after this incident, but he's doing well. He has a family. He's married to the beautiful Meghan Markle. So Harry, good on you for changing your life around. Edward, the Queen's uncle, and George, her father, had another brother who was also called George, and he was known as the Duke of Kent. Unlike most other members of this family, George and Duke of Kent lived a relatively controversial lifestyle, which was said to be a concern to the others. It was reported that George had a long list of lovers, including both men and women. He loved to party and also a hard user of illegal substances. This gossip, alleged to be true by some sources, is said to have upset the royal family at the time. But the real story that the Queen would probably rather nobody discuss is how George passed away. He lost his life in a plane crash in 1942, but several theories suggest that due to his controversial lifestyle, he was assassinated. Now, we have to understand, this could be a hoax and or propaganda due to the royals being in the spotlight, but I have read about how tight their security is, and accidents, although do happen, the royals are good at avoiding them, so this accident does make you think. I personally think that there should be a new docuseries coming out called Prince George and Princess Margaret, and we just follow all these so-called scandals and we see how fun they actually were. Because if you haven't noticed, a lot of the royals can be uptight, and not because they are uptight, but because royal protocols kind of defer them from having any real fun. Margaret and George seem like they knew how to party, and they're the royals I would get behind.
Princess Diana and Prince Andrew's secret plot to not make Charles king. Prince Andrew secretly plotted with Princess Diana to try to stop Charles from becoming king, with William to take his place on the throne, a bombshell biography claimed. The Duke of York is claimed to have wanted William to rise to the throne when the Queen passed, with Andrew himself acting as a regent if this happened before William turned 18. Andrew is also said to have lobbied the Queen to stop Charles from marrying Camilla, claiming she was untrustworthy. The allegations are from royal biographer Angela Levin's new book on Camilla, Camilla, which charts her journey from being a royal outcast to becoming queen consort. Miss Levin claims the senior insider told her that Andrew wanted to push Prince Charles aside. Andrew lobbied very hard with the hope that Charles would not become king when his mother passed, and that William would wear the crown, she wrote. When Diana was alive, through her friendship with Andrew's wife Sarah, she plotted with Andrew to try to push Prince Charles aside so Prince Andrew could become regent to Prince William, who was then a teenager. They were dark and strange times, where paranoia became reality, and this was a worry. His behavior was very, very negative and extremely unpleasant to the Queen, who disagreed. I was told it was one of a rare occasions he didn't get his way. Nonetheless, he was apparently very angry that he couldn't rule the country in some way. He remained so hostile to Camilla's emergence and acceptance that is doubtful and has never been forgiven. Miss Levin also claims that the palace insider says Andrew was poisonous about Camilla to the Queen. He tried to persuade the Queen to block Charles marrying Camilla by being quite poisonous, mean, unhelpful, and very nasty about Camilla, the source said. Buckingham Palace has also not yet commented on the claims. Andrew and Charles have a strained relationship, with the king looking to slim down the monarchy in a move that could force out the Duke's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. The king reportedly does not want Andrew to play any royal role in future, following revelations about his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein.
Thanks for watching. 10 Secrets That Died with the Queen, Part 3. Let the dogs out. The Duchess of York was married to the Queen's son, Prince Andrew. Together they had 2 daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. The Duke and Duchess separated in 1992 as their marriage began to break down. The Duchess was less than discreet about her affairs with other men, leading the other members of the royal family to snub her. The situation only got worse when she was photographed topless on a beach with financier John Bryan. If that wasn't bad enough, the paps managed to get some shots of Bryan sucking her toes. Yeah, the late queen didn't take kindly to this and reportedly banned her from Balmoral. I mean, Sarah, if you love your feet so much and want to make a quick legal buck, there's a site called Feet Finder. I'm just saying, you weirdo. No shame to people with foot fetish. Dogs are man's best friend. Fun siblings. Edward VIII, the Queen's uncle, and George VI, her father, had another brother who was also called George, and he was known as the Duke of Kent. Unlike most other members of his family, George, the Duke of Kent, lived a relatively controversial lifestyle, which was said to be a bit of a concern for the other royals. It was reported that George had a long list of lovers, both men and women. He loved to party and also was a hard user of illegal substances. This gossip, alleged to be true by some sources, is said to have upset the royal family at the time, which kind of makes sense. But the real reason that I bring this story up is because the way he passed away was just a tad bit suspicious. He lost his life in a plane crash in 1942. The several theories suggest that due to his controversial lifestyle, he was assassinated. Now, we have to understand this could be hoax or propaganda due to the royals being in the spotlight, but I have read about how tight their security is. And although accidents happen, they don't happen to them too often. It does kind of make you wonder. The Queen also had another person in her life who lived this controversial lifestyle, because the late Queen was kind of arguably the most perfect person in the family, judging by the way she presented herself in public. She kind of seemed to say and do the right thing and was never caught in an embarrassing moment, except for the time she picked her nose. Her late sister, Princess Margaret, was a different story. Margaret was more carefree in her younger years. Sources report that she started smoking and drinking at age 15. She was more concerned about living the life she wanted rather than what was expected of her, and to be fair, that's a great life motto. She was married in 1960 and began an affair with a gardener 17 years younger than her, and 16 years into her marriage. While Queen Elizabeth obviously had a very long 70-year marriage, Princess Margaret divorced after 18 years. But they both, George and Margaret, sound like people I would enjoy partying with. Alright, Queen's close call. The Queen was almost shot by a teenager back in 1981. A former police officer revealed when she visited New Zealand in 1981, an attempt was made on her life by 17-year-old Christopher John Lewis, who fired shots at the British monarch. Apparently, the police and government officials covered it up in fear that Her Majesty would refuse to visit the country in the future. Christopher Lewis told investigators that an Englishman called Snowman, no, not Olaf, ordered him to take the Queen's life. He ended up being charged with 2 offenses and later jailed for 3 years, where he made plans to take the life of Prince Charles, now King Charles, during another visit to his country. Fortunately, he had terrible aim, and none of the assassinations were carried out. Unfortunately, Louis also took his life in 1997 during another jail term. Thing is, the Queen handled it though. The Queen handled it like a G. She wasn't scared of no gun, because some say the Queen is so bad arse that she in fact knows Victoria's Secret. Nicknames. Yes, the Queen had nicknames because she was a person at the end of the day. I couldn't really imagine it. I wouldn't go up to the Queen and just call her a nickname. You know what? I would have. But the fact is, she had 2 nicknames that people used on a regular basis. And no, not one of them includes Her Majesty. Her actual nickname she got called as a child was Lilibet. And what she's sometimes called, however, the Duke of Edinburgh has another nickname for her. Sometimes he would call her Cabbage. Don't ask. I have no idea, but it was the nickname he used for her. A strange one at that, yes, but she was also called Liz, Lizzie for short. Say what you will, but it sounds better than Cabbage. I agree. She is not a salad. What is cabbage? You even like cabbage? I don't like cabbage. Fluent in French. Yeah, she was bilingual. The late Queen started learning French when she was just a young girl. Back in the day, when she was homeschooled after learning that she would be first in line to the throne, she started taking lessons in history and also in French. The Queen spoke fluent French. She's even been filmed speaking in the language while having meetings with French officials without the need for any interpreter. In fact, it's been said that the late Queen spoke French very, very well. Even though she's barely been heard speaking it very often, learning a second language is a great skill to possess, especially if you want to travel and broaden your mind. Let's be honest, French is one of the favorite languages in the world. It's beautiful, it's nice. Bonjour, je m'appelle Kyle. Bonbon, baguette, bonbon, avec, la maison. All right. Her purse. One thing that was clear about the late Queen was her collection of handbags, 200 to be exact. There's a lot of mystery behind them. I mean, we already know that she uses her handbag as a form of communication with staff, but what we don't know exactly is what she even had in the handbag. I mean, she had a bunch of servants. Wouldn't she just have them carry her stuff? She didn't need a passport or a driving license, and we doubt she carried cash around with her because she's the Queen. So what did she have in her handbag? A royal biographer says the 2 things you will always find in the late Queen's handbag are a mirror and lipstick. Clarins lipstick, to be specific. Clarins is known to be one of her favorite brands, so naturally she's going to carry the brand of lipstick around with her. We saw her carrying around those L'Honneur purses with her at all times, but did you know that they actually serve a greater purpose than just carrying lipstick? Her purse is used as a way to send signals to her staff. Apparently there are certain signs to look for when it comes to the Queen presenting her purse, and what she does with it. It would be very worrying if you're talking about the Queen and saw her handbag move from one hand to the other. Royal historian Hugo Vickers told People why, because that would indicate to staff that she's ready to end the conversation and leave. In other words, you're boring, and she just doesn't want to talk to you anymore, and she switched hand with her purse, and you're lucky because she was one swift boom away from telling you shut up. Coupon. I don't know if you're gonna believe me here, you don't have to, but the Queen had to pay for her wedding dress using ration coupons. It's exactly what she did in order to purchase her dream gown. You see, Princess Elizabeth at the time and Prince Philip got married in 1947 when the British government was still recovering from the post-WW2 conflict. The rationing was affecting everyone, including the royal family. That's why the late Queen was forced to collect clothing coupons in order to buy her wedding gown, and it certainly paid off with her bridal dress and tiara on her wedding day. She was a knockout. Her bridesmaid, Lady Pamela Hicks, told People magazine, and of course Philip was every girl's dream Viking prince. So you see, the Queen isn't too immune to the act of budgeting. I mean, I bought lunch today with a coupon. What are you gonna do, sue me? Because I'll pull out a coupon for that too. Half off lawyer. Boom. What are you gonna do? Neon. Yeah, she wore a lot of neon. She wears it all the time. Oh, she wore it all the time. She wore neon out and about, and there was actually a reason for it. It's not just because she had a taste for bright clothing. It was actually so that you could spot her from a crowd. You have to be able to see that figure in a lemon coat and hat from far away. Hugo Vickers, the Queen's biographer, told the New York Times. That's why you often saw her wearing bright pinks and lime greens, so the world can see her loud and clear. I'm right here. You can see her from far away easily if she wears bright clothing, like a frickin' traffic cone. At the end of the day, this was the Queen we're talking about. Everyone has to be able to see her. There is no crowd when it comes to the Queen. She is the crowd. She's the person of interest, point of contact. She's the person that everyone wanted to see, so she stood out. She was also tech savvy, so she may have been of an older generation, but the late Queen is pretty tech savvy, okay? I might be exaggerating a little bit, because, she didn't build a computer, but she did in fact send her first email before I was even born. Her first electronic correspondence occurred in 1976. And if you were alive during that age, then get off your phone and go to bed, because 4 p.m. is too late for you already, grandmother. We're not sure if she sent too many emails those days, but we do know that she did have a Twitter page and a Facebook page too. She even used her own mobile phone, which was used to call her grandchildren. I mean, we don't know if she tweeted or if she just had PR, but we can say that the late Queen isn't completely alien to tech gadgets. So she knows how to send an email and she knows how to use a cell phone. We're winning. The Queen was the Queen. She could do whatever she pleased. And if you don't believe me, watch my other videos of the laws the Queen didn't have to follow. She literally could do whatever she pleased. She consumed 4 cocktails a day and no one could say anything. Why wouldn't she? She's got a lot of stress. That's exactly what she did actually every day. Her first drink of the day, according to her former royal chef, was a gin cocktail with a slice of lemon and ice, enjoyed not long before lunch. During lunch, she'll have a glass of a grape that is smushed and now has substance in it, followed by a dry gin martini to end the meal. This is only at 1 p.m. guys, all right? No judgment to her. Of course, she could again do whatever she wants, and she probably held herself pretty well. But then she would have her final drink, which would normally be right before she went to bed, and it was a flute of champagne. Could this be the key to her success and longevity? Maybe. Maybe I'll start drinking. Who knows? 10 secrets that died with the Queen. The secret note. Queen Elizabeth II left behind a secret letter which cannot be opened until 2085. So yes, this will be answered, but oh my, does it ever make you curious. I'm 20, so there's a chance I'll never get to hear the words she left on that note, which is sad, and could be a possibility for many others watching this video. She left a note which is not to be opened for another 62 years. It is such a cool concept, as if it's a time capsule, but maybe it addresses one last piece of wisdom or to address the future generation, or maybe it's nothing serious, all but a grocery list. Only time will tell. What do you think's in the secret note? Her love life. Her love life with late Prince Philip is one of that the public knows so much about, but not all. Princess Elizabeth was just a preteen when she met the 18-year-old dashing Philip, who was then a cadet in the British Navy. In 1946, the press spotted Philip helping the princess put on her coat at her cousin's wedding and noticed the connection between them. The couple was secretly engaged at the time, but the palace waited 3 years until Elizabeth was 21 to make the official announcement. As interesting as those little secrets are, the amazing part of the relationship is the fact that they were married for 73 years before Prince Philip's passing. That relationship doesn't only set records, but is stronger than the diamond on her ring. Project Party. The Queen wanted to party like a commoner, but this was difficult due to her status. Luckily, her foolproof plan ended in her most memorable night. Elizabeth and Margaret got their parents' permission to join the massive crowd celebrating the end of WW2 on May 8th, 1945. I remember lines of unknown people linking arms and walking down Whitehall. All of us just swept along on a tide of happiness and relief, she said in 1985. She went incognito and partied like there was no tomorrow, which I'm glad she was able to enjoy, considering she had a major spotlight on her from a young age. Secret relative. So speaking on technicality here, but Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were technically cousins. Third cousins to be exact. Elizabeth was related to Queen Victoria on her father's side, and Philip was related to Queen Victoria on her mother's side. It's a gray area, frowned upon today, but it wasn't back then when they got married. I wouldn't consider it blood related, maybe just a drop, that's about it. No, let's just forget about it and move on. She was 182 years old. Obviously, she wasn't 182 years old. Why would you believe that? But she was 96 when she passed, and she celebrated her birthday twice a year, to where that dumb joke came from. The Queen's real birthday is April 21st, but the country doesn't officially celebrate until June 11th. Monarchs with birthdays in colder months typically schedule additional official birthday when the weather is likely to be better for the parade. Elizabeth had one every June called Trooping the Colors. I wish I had a warmer birthday, but my parents enjoyed their Valentine's Day, which landed me in November. Dogs. The late Queen was a dog person because, I mean, who likes cats? She in fact owned 30 corgis throughout her life. Elizabeth's father brought home the royal family's first corgi in 1933, and on her 18th birthday, Elizabeth was gifted her own corgi named Susan. According to the Associated Press, many of her subsequent corgis descended directly from Susan. Susan got to work. Corgis wouldn't be my first choice of dog, but I love this little secret. Aqua Queen. The Queen has a pretty dope little secret, and that is as early as the 12th century, the British monarch laid claim to all mute swans in the country. According to the official royal family website, back then the birds were considered delicacy. The Queen doesn't eat those swans, but she technically still owned them. Every year, the Queen's Swan Marker, which is actually a good paying job and the actual job title, leads a multi-day census called the Swan Upping to count the birds and check up on their health. Plus, thanks to the 1324 statute, the Queen can also claim ownership of all fishes royal. That means any sturgeons, dolphins, whales that reside in waters around the UK. She wrote to the moon. Ahead of the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, dozens of the world leaders were invited to write messages of goodwill that were transferred onto a small silicone disc. That disc is still sitting on the surface of the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin placed it just below the American flag they planted at the landing site. According to NASA, on behalf of the British people, I salute the skill and courage which have brought man to the moon, the Queen wrote in her moon message. May this endeavor increase the knowledge and well-being of mankind. I wonder what everyone else wrote. Quick little side debate. Do you think the moon landing's real? I'll be reading the comments for your opinion. Partier at heart. The Queen used to enjoy a cocktail before lunch and a glass of champagne before bed. And that's why she's my favorite. Because royal or not, she still wanted to get her buzz on. Love it. Margaret Rhodes, the Queen's cousin, once said that the Queen has a strict regimen for her beverage intake. She reportedly took a cocktail before lunch with a slice of a lemon and a lot of ice. In October 2021, Vanity Fair reported that the then 95-year-old has been advised by doctors to give up her daily beverage drinking and opt for water and juices instead. The beverages have gone. Her doctors want to make sure she is fit and healthy as possible, a source told the publication. Doctors are always ruining the fun. Her sense of humor is no secret but a great way to remember the Queen, and that is the smiles she left on people's faces. Apparently, the monarch had a great sense of humor and a talent for mimicry. According to the Associated Press, the Queen's chaplain bishop, Michael Mann, once said, "The Queen imitating the Concorde landing is one of the funniest things you could ever see." She has been said to have quite the sense of humor, and for that and every other wholehearted thing, rest your soul, Queen Elizabeth II, and may your memories carry on.
Meghan's father staged photos before the wedding. Meghan Markle's relationship with her estranged father, Thomas Markle, has been the subject of much media attention since she and Prince Harry announced their engagement in November 2017. However, the scrutiny reached a new level in the days leading up to their wedding in May 2018, when the Daily Mail exposed how Thomas had worked with the Coleman Rayner photography agency to stage photos of him preparing for the wedding. These included pictures of him at Starbucks, using the internet to research Harry and Meghan, exercising to lose weight, and getting fitted for his wedding attire. The person who was pictured measuring Thomas was 17-year-old David Flores, and he was not actually a tailor, but rather a student working at a nearby party supply store who had just been recruited to participate in this photo shoot. Flores described the experience as, quote, really strange. In an interview with Good Morning Britain, Thomas admitted that he had hoped to change his image and turn the public's negative perception of him into a positive one with these staged photos. But this plan has gone to hell, as you can see. He expressed regret for his actions, saying that he felt bad about his mistake. However, the royal family was reportedly very embarrassed by this incident and had previously issued statements asking the paparazzi to leave Thomas completely alone. So you can only imagine how embarrassed she is about this, and it is definitely a personal family secret she wants to keep hidden. Number 9, former friend shade. Meghan Markle will have no trouble transitioning to life outside of royal family, according to Shannon Govani, a former friend of the Duchess of Sussex. Govani, who knew Meghan through Toronto social circles while she was filming Suits, believes that Markle's adaptability and ability to reinvent herself will serve her well as she and Prince Harry prepare to officially step down from the royal duties. In an article for Tatler, Govani described Markle as a, quote, shapeshifter who is no stranger to picking up and reinventing herself. He also mentioned that within Toronto's social scene, Markle was known for being able to easily immerse herself in various circles and was always a fixture at shindigs. These comments came as Markle and Prince Harry made final preparations for their departure from royal life. Could her former friend just be salty about their former relationship, or is there some truth about her being a quote-unquote shapeshifter? Number 8, Meghan's half-brother is homeless because of her. Meghan Markle's older half-brother, Thomas Markle Jr., has claimed that he's at the lowest point of his life, and he says that he lost his job and his home due to his sister's fame. Markle Jr. was recently evicted from his rental home in Grants Pass, Oregon, and is now living in a small hotel room with his fiancée, her son, and their 2 dogs. In an interview with The Sun, Markle Jr. blamed his sister's global fame for his downward spiral and claimed that he was unable to find a new job or a place to live due to being known as Meghan's crazy brother. Markle Jr.'s relationship with his sister has been strained for some time, with the half-siblings previously criticizing Meghan in the media and claiming that she turns her back on family and friends if she believes they are no use to her. Meghan's fans have called Markle Jr. and her sister Samantha opportunists seeking to exploit Meghan's fame for their own gain, and it kinda seems like it. However, Markle Jr. has claimed that he has been living under a microscope since Meghan's engagement to Prince Harry in 2017. Despite the strained relationship between Meghan and her half-siblings, it is clear that the Duchess of Sussex fame has an impact on their lives and has brought both positive but more negative attention in their way. While Meghan enjoys a luxurious life with her husband and son at Windsor Castle, her half-brother is struggling to make ends meet and find stable housing. It is unclear if Meghan and her half-siblings will be able to reconcile and repair their relationship in the future. But after all these years, does she really want to? Who knows? Number 7, Meghan's half-sister. In her new book, The Diary of Princess Pushy's Sister, Part 1, Meghan Markle's half-sister Samantha Markle has made some controversial claims about the Duchess of Sussex. According to Markle, the royal is allegedly ungrateful for the financial support provided by their father, Thomas Markle, and is also being described as being demanding and belittling and controlling. Markle is said to have received whatever she wanted and needed from their father, but instead of showing gratitude, she is alleged to have acted in a controlling manner. While the book paints both Meghan and Prince Harry in a negative light, Samantha claims it was not written with the intention of attacking her sister or in-laws. It's worth noting that this is not the first time that Samantha Markle has made headlines with her comments about her half-sister. She's been vocal in the media about her strained relationship and had previously made controversial statements about the royal family. However, it remains to be seen how much weight these latest claims will carry, especially given Samantha's past behavior. Regardless, it is clear that the Markle family has its fair share of drama and controversy, and it seems that this latest revelation will only add to their ongoing narrative. Number 6, her past boyfriends. Meghan Markle's divorce from film producer and literary manager Trevor Engelson has been the subject of much speculation and rumor. The couple was married from 2011 to 2013, and while it was originally reported that the union ended due to Markle's busy filming schedule for Suits, new details have emerged about the breakdown of the marriage. According to the friend of the exes, Engelson was shocked by Markle's decision to end the marriage and felt like he was, quote, a piece of something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. The decision reportedly came totally out of the blue and caused a rift among their friends, with many reportedly choosing to take sides. Markle's former best friend, Nanaki Pretty, who is the maid of honor at their first wedding, ended their friendship due to Markle's alleged treatment of Engelson. Trevor definitely had the rug pulled out from under him. He was hurt. It's worth noting that these claims came from a single source and have not been independently verified, but they do provide insight into the potentially tumultuous nature of the couple's divorce. Markle's divorce was one of the reasons why her engagement with Prince Harry initially caused a stir, as she became the first divorcee to enter the royal family. While it's not uncommon for people to have complicated relationships with their exes, it seems that Markle's divorce was particularly contentious and caused many rifts among their social circles. In the hump of our list, we have the briefcase. Before becoming a royal, Meghan made an appearance as the case model on Deal or No Deal, hosted by Howie Mandel. Meghan was one of those beautiful women who would open cases to reveal a winning amount. Her time on the show lasted from 2006 to 2007, and she once said in an interview that the only reason she did the show was to make ends meet. She said, quote, "Definitely working on Deal or No Deal was a learning experience, and it helped me to understand what I'd rather be doing." And while we can all imagine, the Queen wasn't very pleased about this. And this search for clout only got worse when in 2013, Meghan Markle took part in a seductive photo shoot for the Canadian magazine Sharp. And of course, the royal family was not happy about this. And as well, being a royal means anything and everything from your past can creep up to haunt you. And if it's on the internet, there is no hiding. Although some outfits are sheer and revealing, she is fortunately not naked in any of the photos, much to the royals' delight. Number 4, hiding her sister's disability. It seems that Meghan Markle has not been able to escape family drama even after marrying into the royal family. Her half-sister Samantha Markle has accused Meghan of hiding her disability and abandoning the entire family. Samantha, who has been in a wheelchair since being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2008, claims that her two sisters have not been close, and that Meghan has avoided mentioning Samantha's disability in public. This accusation has sparked much debate and discussion. Some believe that the lack of a close relationship between Meghan and Samantha may not be due to Samantha's disability, but rather due to conflicts and tensions between the two that are very much private. After all, the two sisters are 17 years apart and were born to different mothers, so it's possible that they simply did not have a close relationship to begin with. Others argue that Meghan should have done more support to her sister and been there for her, especially given Samantha's disability. It is important for family members to support each other and be there for one another, no matter what challenges or difficulties they may be facing. Number 3, the real name. Interestingly enough, Meghan is not the real name of Prince Harry's Hollywood wife. She was born as Rachel Meghan Markle, and the same name as her character on Suits. It is not known when or why Meghan decided to drop Rachel, but all of her acting credits are under Meghan Markle. Perhaps like some of her former acquaintances have mentioned, she had always aspired to get to where she is today, and Meghan was more suited for a royal title. I know a lot of people who have personally dropped their first names in favor of their middle names, so this really isn't that big of a deal for me. If you know someone who has swapped around their names or has a different name they go by, then let me know in the comments. I'm super interested. Number 2, potential cheating. It has been said that Meghan was actually in a relationship with another man when she went on her first date with Prince Harry. From 2014 to 2016, Meghan was dating Canadian chef Corey Vitiello, and they became very serious, even living in a townhouse together. Meanwhile, we know Meghan met Markle in 2016, potentially causing their sudden breakup in May that year. So was Harry the cause of the end of her relationship, or was it just something else? It was revealed that Prince Harry actually proposed to Meghan over a chicken dinner, and after Corey heard that, he clearly couldn't hold back and he posted a video right after the announcement of him cooking up some delicious juicy chicken. Is he throwing shade to his ex, or is this just a playful thing from him? Let us know in the comments as well with this. Number 1, fight with Kate. I wrote a biography by investigative journalist Tom Bauer claims that Meghan Markle was the one to make Kate Middleton cry during a disagreement over dresses for Markle's wedding to Prince Harry. Bauer alleges in his book Revenge that the disagreement arose during a dress fitting when Markle compared Middleton's daughter, Princess Charlotte, unfavorably to her best friend's daughter. The two women reportedly disagreed over the hemline of Charlotte's dress and whether Markle's bridesmaid should wear tights. Bauer also claimed that Middleton's friend and her mother supported Markle in the disagreement. These claims contradict previous statements from Kensington Palace and Markle herself, who said in a 2020 interview with Oprah Winfrey that it was actually Middleton who made her cry and that she had actually apologized for the incident. Markle described the disagreements as being over flower girl dresses and said that she had forgiven Middleton for this incident.
Serena Williams. After meeting at a charity football game in 2014, Meghan and tennis star Serena Williams became great friends. After beginning to date the prince and being bombarded by paparazzi and press, her friend gave her some friendly advice. "I told her, you've got to be who you are, Meghan. You can't hide," Williams said. Meghan's best friend, however, is said to be fashion stylist Jessica Mulroney. The girls became close after Meghan moved to Canada to film Suits, and her 3 children even served as bridal attendants at the wedding. That's sweet. Unlike Drake, it seems Meghan does in fact have friends in the industry. I'm sorry that was a bad joke, but it's good to have people watching your back and giving you advice in times of need. That's really nice of Serena and Jessica. The Queen's Jubilee. The ex-royal pair, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, decided to cut short their celebrations of the Queen's Jubilee, flying back early instead of participating in the later celebrations. Royal expert Katie Nicole said of her take on the situation, "I honestly think it's because they knew that they wouldn't be in the front row." And why did they leave the royal family? They left because they weren't in the front row. I believe that's why they weren't at the other celebration, as they did not have center stage seats. Meghan disregarded the respect for Queen Elizabeth II's 70th year on the throne and just flew back with Harry, all for some seats. The time she threw tea at a staffer. Allegedly, she threw a cup of hot tea at one of the Admiralty House staff in Oz. Meghan expected to get the whole of Admiralty House to stay during their tour, but she only got a wing of it, so allegedly she told the host a 4-letter word off and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Apparently she was like a Tasmanian devil during her early pregnancy, and the host tried to soothe her with a cup of tea. She didn't like the tea and threw it at the staffer. What a nightmare. She lost her cool on an experienced royal aide. Samantha Cohen, the experienced royal aide who Queen Elizabeth asked to help Meghan transition into royal life, was screamed at by the couple before and during a flight to Australia for their 2018 tour. Sam always made clear that it was like working for a couple of teenagers. They were impossible and pushed her to the limit. She was miserable, a friend of Cohen's claimed. She was constantly having to battle on Harry and Meghan's behalf while taking all this abuse from them. That's terrible. She's not friendly? An insider from Meghan's former life has come out and accused the Duchess of being fame hungry. Meghan's goal was always becoming a household name, a source told Vanity Fair. She's insanely smart and poised, but very, very guarded. She's not a person you can actually be friends with. She's the type of person who is best friends with her stylist, the insider added. After moving to Toronto to film the drama series Suits, Meghan reportedly began spending time at exclusive bar venues like Soho House, while surrounding herself with the likes of celebrity stylists Jessica Mulroney and Misha Nono. Meghan was socializing with foreign heiresses, upper crust, smart, ambitious. Nono's friend told Vanity Fair, "They have everything and they want everything." A close friend to Prince Harry, Nono had previously been reported as the matchmaker who set him up with her friend. Another Hollywood insider revealed to the publication that Meghan even held a Sayonara Zara party, where she gave away her old clothes once she could afford the high-end labels worn by her Suits character, paralegal Rachel Zane. Sounds like jealousy to me. Samantha Markle. These claims about Meghan's personality resemble the accusations that half-sister Samantha Markle has broadcast high and low since her siblings' rise to fame. In 2016, Markle told The Sun that Meghan always dreamed of being a princess, painting her as a social climber. She always preferred Harry. She has a soft spot for gingers. She has since made headlines accusing Meghan of lying about paying for her own university fees and causing an irreparable rift in her relationship with their father, Thomas Markle, after she failed to call him on Christmas Day. "I've never seen anyone so rude and hurtful and heartless and absent a soul in my life," Samantha Markle wrote on Twitter. The brutal tweets followed revelations that Meghan hadn't spoke to her father since her May nuptials, forcing him to learn of his daughter's pregnancy through the news. Samantha added, "Apparently you're not capable of forgiveness or having a peaceful heart." Family feuds. Not only Samantha, no one in the Markle family seems to get along. Both half-sister Samantha and half-brother Thomas Jr. have made allegations in the public media that the other sibling has been cut out of the family. Furthermore, despite Prince Harry making a comment that the royals are like the family she never had, one family member suggested this was not the case. "She's had a really good family," said Thomas Markle Jr. We were as close as we could be, as tight as we could be. That's what we were. In fact, it was revealed last minute that Markle's dad would not be attending her royal wedding. Confirming the news, she said, "Sadly, my father will not be attending our wedding. I have always cared for my father and hope he can be given the space he needs to focus on his health." Meanwhile, her reaction behind closed doors was much less matter of fact. Apparently, the shocking news of his absence reduced both Meghan and Harry to tears. After turning up to Kensington Palace unannounced, Samantha was overcome with online abuse. However, she hit back in support of her shared father with Meghan, saying that the Duchess should bow to the daddy, accusing her half-sister of giving fake waves and smiles, and not giving time to the one who has always been there for her. Samantha simply wanted Meghan to reach out to her father so he could know she is all well, happy, and to touch base. Not enough attention. According to Meghan's sister Samantha, Meghan is not paying enough attention to her father. After making numerous attempts to speak to Meghan about the health of their 74-year-old dad, Kensington Palace refused to respond. Unsure whether Meghan was even aware of this, her publicist took to Twitter as the only option we have left, he claimed. "This doesn't need to be public. We would prefer to keep this private. Samantha is coming to the UK this week, like it or not." This could be because Meghan Markle's dad staged his own paparazzi shots days before the wedding. Despite many requests for photographers to stay away from Thomas Markle, he apparently worked with members of paparazzi to stage photos showing him preparing for his daughter's royal wedding. It was alleged that he made a healthy profit from this too. While there was much speculation on this, it was reported Thomas decided not to attend the nuptials to avoid embarrassing the royal family. Only days later, he changed his mind. MS. Meghan has allegedly hidden her half-sister's disability. Samantha, who was diagnosed with MS back in 2008 and is in a wheelchair, believes her sister has avoided speaking about it publicly. She has even spoken out that Meghan has abandoned the family. In addition, she said that the two sisters have not been close, especially since her diagnosis. Born 17 years apart to different mothers, the two did not have much of a relationship, and despite Samantha's claims, we doubt this is due to her disability, or because Samantha constantly talks bad about her and treats her poorly due to jealousy, and it has nothing to do with her disability. Rather, it has everything to do with her attitude. Having a disability or condition is tough, and some attitude is expected if you aren't dealing with it well. But it's always a bad idea and heavily advised against that you take it out on your own family. Samantha should be confiding in her sister and other family members, not going at their throats. Meghan is of course at fault too, she should have checked in with her sister more. Criminal brother. Meghan's older half-brother is certainly not royal family material. Just like his father, he is on his second divorce and similarly declared his own bankruptcy in 2013. However, the real topper is that Thomas Markle Jr. was taken into custody after allegedly holding a weapon to his girlfriend's head. He was charged with unlawful use of a dangerous weapon, menacing, and domestic violence. This does not sound like ideal behavior for a brother-in-law of Prince Harry. I mean, the royal family does have Andrew, so don't worry Meghan, nothing is worse than that. It must be tough for Meghan to be getting all of this media attention while having to worry about her family. I mean, sure, he is a bad guy, but I'm sure Meghan just thinks he's misguided. Thinking about siblings and other family members, whether you like them or not, is a lot of stress, you know? The Duchess of Sussex was greeting mourners stationed outside Windsor Castle on September 10th with her husband Prince Harry and the Prince and Princess of Wales when the incident unfolded. In footage widely shared to Twitter, Meghan could be seen holding a bunch of pink roses and talking to the crowd when an aide spoke to her from behind. The Duchess could be seen whirling around quickly with what some social media users claim to be a flash of annoyance on her face. Meghan spoke some words to the aide, pointing in one direction before finally smiling, nodding her head, and whirling back around towards the crowd. Honestly, maybe the royal aide just scared her. It's possible. Rachel. Interestingly, Meghan is not the real name of Prince Harry's Hollywood wife. She was born as Rachel Meghan Markle, the same as her character on Suits. It is not known when or why Meghan decided to drop Rachel, but all of her acting credits are under Meghan Markle. Perhaps, like some of her former acquaintances have mentioned, she had always aspired to get to where she is today, and Meghan was more suited for a royal title. I know a lot of people personally who have dropped their first names in favor of their middle names, so this isn't really that big of a deal to me. If you know someone who's swapped around their name or has a different name they go by, Then let me know in the comments, I'm super interested. One user says that Meghan claimed she was bored during King Charles and Princess Camilla's garden party. I think pushing Harry aside, basically halting his conversation, and then refocusing all the attention on her is damn rude. He put his head down with his hands folded over each other like a little kid who's being chastised. Talking so much in the engagement interview as if what she had to say was much more important than what he had to say was also rude. Announcing, "I'm bored" at Charles and Camilla's garden party was the ultimate. I can't tell if this is a true story or not, but it's definitely a Karen move to announce you're bored in front of everyone. Briefcase. Before becoming a royal, Meghan made an appearance as the case model on Deal or No Deal, hosted by Howie Mandel. Meghan was one of those beautiful women who would open the cases to reveal a winning amount. Her time on the show lasted from 2006 to 2007, so only a year, and she once said in an interview that the only reason she did the show was to make ends meet. Definitely working on Deal or No Deal was a learning experience, and it helped me to understand what I would rather be doing, she said. While we can imagine the Queen wasn't very pleased about this, back in 2013, Meghan Markle took part in a seductive photo shoot for the Canadian magazine Sharp. Of course, becoming a royal means anything and everything from your past can creep up to haunt you, and if it's on the internet, there is no hiding. Although some outfits are sheer and revealing, she is fortunately not naked in any of these pictures, much to the royals' delight. It's 2022, so do whatever you want, Meg. You mind if I call you Meg? Bad-mouthing her in-laws. I consider it to be rude to badmouth your in-laws on such a public forum as an internationally televised interview. One user said about her interview with the royal family. They continue, "Private family matters should be taken up privately." As was stated in Buckingham Palace's brief response to the interview, on top of that, the interview was released while Prince Philip was gravely ill in the hospital. The guy's got a point. A bit better timing could help Meghan a fair bit. Maybe she can try to release something like that when nothing crazy is happening. Serena Williams. After meeting at a charity football game in 2014, Meghan and tennis star Serena Williams became great friends. After beginning to date the prince and being bombarded by paparazzi and press, her friend gave her some friendly advice. "I told her, you've got to be who you are, Meghan. You can't hide," Williams said. Meghan's best friend, however, is said to be fashion stylist Jessica Mulroney. The girls became close after Meghan moved to Canada to film Suits, and her 3 children even served as bridal attendants at the wedding. That's sweet. Unlike Drake, it seems Meghan does in fact have friends in the industry. I'm sorry that was a bad joke, but it's good to have people watching your back and giving you advice in times of need. That's really nice of Serena and Jessica. The Queen's Jubilee. The ex-royal pair, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, decided to cut short their celebrations of the Queen's Jubilee, flying back early instead of participating in the later celebrations. Royal expert Katie Nicole said of her take on the situation, "I honestly think it's because they knew that they wouldn't be in the front row." And why did they leave the royal family? They left because they weren't in the front row. I believe that's why they weren't at the other celebration, as they did not have center stage seats. Meghan disregarded the respect for Queen Elizabeth II's 70th year on the throne and just flew back with Harry, all for some seats. The time she threw tea at a staffer. Allegedly, she threw a cup of hot tea at one of the Admiralty House staff in Oz. Meghan expected to get the whole of Admiralty House to stay during their tour, but she only got a wing of it, so allegedly she told the host a 4-letter word off and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Apparently she was like a Tasmanian devil during her early pregnancy, and the host tried to soothe her with a cup of tea. She didn't like the tea and threw it at the staffer. What a nightmare. She lost her cool on an experienced royal aide. Samantha Cohen, the experienced royal aide who Queen Elizabeth asked to help Meghan transition into royal life, was screamed at by the couple before and during a flight to Australia for their 2018 tour. Sam always made clear that it was like working for a couple of teenagers. They were impossible and pushed her to the limit. She was miserable, a friend of Cohen's claimed. She was constantly having to battle on Harry and Meghan's behalf while taking all this abuse from them. That's terrible. Wait, what? It has been said that Meghan was actually in a relationship with another man when she went on her first date with Prince Harry. From 2014 to 2016, Meghan was dating Canadian chef Corey Vitiello, and they became serious, even living in a townhouse together. Meanwhile, we know Meghan met Harry in 2016, potentially causing their sudden breakup in May that year. So was Harry the cause of the end of Vitiello and Meghan, or was it something else? When questioned, he reported, "I can't comment on that." Actually, on the subject of that Canadian chef, Corey Vitiello responded to the announcement of Harry and Meghan's engagement. It was revealed that Prince Harry actually proposed to Meghan over a chicken dinner. After Corey heard about that, he clearly couldn't hold back, and he posted a video right after the announcement of him cooking up some delicious, juicy chicken. Is he throwing shade to his ex, or is this just a little playful thing from him? Let us know in the comments below.
Ditched her gal pal. Meghan Markle is said to have spent a lot of time in London following her split from Trevor Engelson. The actress reportedly struck up a friendship with local TV personality Lizzie Cundy after they attended a charity dinner. According to Cundy, Markle was keen to find a new man, but after her divorce, she allegedly had two conditions. He had to be English and he had to be famous. We were having a girly chat and then she said, "Do you know any famous guys? I'm single and I really love English men." Cundy wrote in a 2019 tell-all Tales from the Red Carpet. So I said, "We'll go out and we'll find someone." Cundy claimed Markle called soccer star Ashley Cole cute, but that went nowhere. Sources close to X Factor winner Matt Cardle claim Markle quietly slid into his DMs in 2015, but the singer reportedly stopped replying after meeting somebody else. Her Instagram interaction with Cardle allegedly took place just months before she started dating Harry. According to The Sun, once Harry was on hook, Markle apparently had no use for the singer. I text saying, "Oh my god, I heard about Harry," and she was like, "Yeah, I know, we'll try and hook up." Cundy claimed she was probably told by the palace to end contact with people she befriended in the media. "I was literally ghosted by her." Royal shade. Now that Meghan Markle is stateside and out of the firm reach, she's apparently been dishing about Prince Harry's side of the family. What was life like inside the palace? A little frosty, according to The American. In March 2020, a source cited by the Daily Mail claimed that Markle bemoaned the lack of warmth at royal family gatherings and finds all the standoffish behavior very odd. Her sister-in-law Kate Middleton is reportedly the biggest culprit. It's still weird to her that no one hugs and that everyone is so uptight, especially Kate, the insider said to be a close friend with Markle told the tabloid. She said it's obvious that Kate and William do not approve of their choices and that you could cut the tension with a knife. The source went on to say that Middleton and Markle barely interacted during the latter's final trip as a senior royal and reportedly even avoided making eye contact. Rumors of a rift between the two duchesses have been dodging the royal family for some time now. However, this damaging narrative really started to take root in 2019 when Markle guest edited the September issue of British Vogue. She neglected to put Middleton on the Female Forces for Change list featured in her issue. She also said that it would have been arrogant to appear on the cover herself. Middleton appeared on the cover of the magazine in 2016. Bad talk. We might never know if Meghan Markle had some sort of Megxit in her mind when she married Prince Harry, but according to someone who knows her personally, shedding her skin and starting over is a habit of hers. Writing for Tatler's Shanann Govani, who hosted Markle for dinner during her Suits days, claims something that has stayed with me, especially post-Megxit, is that Meghan is no stranger to picking up and reinventing herself. Both a go-getter as well as a shapeshifter, she returns now with more social mojo than she could have ever imagined then. By March 2020, Markle was already unleashing that social mojo on Los Angeles, where she and Harry moved after leaving Canada behind. The Sussexes were previously mocked when the prince was filmed asking Disney CEO Bob Iger to cast Markle in something. "You know she does voiceovers," the prince reportedly said, per Express. Later reports suggest that the actress has instructed her agent to find her a role in a superhero movie. It seems as though Markle was making herself at home, but how is Harry handling it? Was royal keeping up with his shape-shifting wife? I don't know how his career is going to map out. Dr. Jane Goodall, a famous primatologist and a good friend of Harry's, told the Radio Times that April, "I've been in touch, though I think he's finding life a bit challenging just now." Casual wear. During her 16th South Pacific tour, Markle spotted several different looks and unfortunately suffered some wardrobe malfunctions along the way. But there was one particular feature included in her attire that royal etiquette experts took issue with. Markle donned a white tuxedo dress designed by New Zealand's Maggie Marlin during an event at Courtenay Creative in Wellington. The stunning outfit drew praise from fans, but royal experts were critical of the relaxed look. We know that the Royal Highness, the Duke, and Duchess of Sussex are pioneering a new relaxed tactical branch of the monarchy, but having hands in pocket is a step too far. William Hanson, who described himself as the UK's leading etiquette expert and coach, told the Daily Mail. Markle was captured on camera several times with her hands inside her pocket, a gesture Hanson said was inappropriate for such a duchess. There's good casual and there's bad casual. Placing a hand in pocket is too relaxed and unprofessional. However, dressed down Prince Harry and his wife may have been, he added. The etiquette guru said it's not too much of fashion faux pas, though he suggests she avoids tempting fate by opting for dresses and other clothing with pockets in the future. Will the world end? No, it's just a small blimp in Meghan's usually delightful manners that can be easily corrected for future engagement, Hanson told the British newspaper. Power. During the episode on Meghan's podcast Archetypes, herself and comedian Issa Rae and Ziwi introduced the episode's theme. She said, this idea that black women must be angry when we all know sometimes things make you feel angry or sad or hurt or upset. That's not a gender or racial specific feeling, yet this trope of the angry black woman persists. And it was being reinforced constantly in ways we haven't even realized it. The actor who co-created, wrote, and starred in Insecure opened up about her feel of being perceived as a B-word for asserting her opinion or expressing disappointment on set. I take away the fear of being labeled as such because I shouldn't have a fear that if I said I just want something to be great. She said she had been called particular in the past, but had interpreted this as a compliment, reflecting her clear vision of what she wants to achieve. Meghan replied, I'm particular. I think high tides raise all ships. We're all going to succeed, so let's just make sure we're really great so it's a shared success for everyone. But I also know that I will find myself cowering and tiptoeing in a room where I don't know. If you ever do the thing that I find the most embarrassing, where you're gonna say a sentence, but the intonation goes up like it's a question. And you're like, oh my God, stop. Stop whispering and tiptoeing around. Just say what it is that you need. You're allowed to set boundaries, you're allowed to be clear. It does not make you demanding. It does not make you difficult. Mocking accusation. In the second episode of Meghan and Harry, the Duchess in Sussex recounted her first experience meeting the late Queen Elizabeth. The events leading up to it, Meghan Markle described how she and Prince Harry were attending a lunch at the Royal Lodge when he let her know about his grandmother would be joining them a little bit later. I remember we were in the car driving up and he said, you know how to curtsy, right? And I just thought it was a joke. She explained, seemingly admitting that he may have been uncomfortable with his family's own curtsy tradition. Harry said in the docuseries, how do you explain that you have to bow to your grandmother and that you will need to curtsy, especially to an American? Like, that's just weird. In a bid to demonstrate what curtsying to the Queen for the first time looked like, Markle performed a botched version of a dramatic bow. Many fans of the royal family interpreted the moment as being an insult to the royal family's traditions. On Twitter, one fan wrote that Meghan Markle curtsy scene was so mocking and disrespectful. Meanwhile, another tweet said, funny how Meghan thinks it's ridiculous to curtsy to a queen but has no problem with people calling her a duchess or addressing her as your grace. Meghan's secret trips to London. During the first several months of their relationship, Meghan and Harry had a very hard time seeing each other. After all, Harry is based in London, while Meghan splits her time between LA and Toronto. Sometimes they went several weeks without seeing each other and relied on FaceTime to make their relationship work. Somehow Meghan managed to make short little trips to London and spend time at Kensington Palace and go unnoticed. Some reports even say that she had special royal clearance thanks to Prince Harry. Also, it didn't take Harry very long to realize that Meghan Markle was the woman of his dreams. To him, it was love at first sight. Harry put it this way, the fact that I fell in love with Meghan so incredibly quick is confirmation to me that all the stars are aligned. Royal fascination. Apparently Meghan Markle always wanted one thing in life, and that's to become a member of the British royal family. Now, she's never confirmed that, but her friends say that she always had a fascination with the royals. According to some sources, this was all part of Meghan's plan. She wanted to be a princess since she was a teenager. Her old pal once said she was always fascinated by the royal family. She wanted to be Princess Diana 2.0. She will play her royal a Bly, but my advice to him is to tread cautiously. I'm not shocked at all. It's like she has been planning this all her life. She gets exactly what she wants, and Harry has fallen to her play. I wouldn't consider this a Meghan Markle friend, considering how the person talked about Meghan, but that's your circle, Meghan, you deal with it. PDA, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are very much so in love. Therefore, though it is against royal protocol, and the late Queen wasn't a fan of it, the pair are often engaging in PDA. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex make googly eyes at one another, hold hands, smooch, and there might have been some upper thigh and butt grazing as well. Ooh. The royal family has a lot of rules that they need to follow. There's a special order that everyone has to walk in, certain ways to greet each other, family members, and even dress codes depending on what event they are attending. But it turns out there's no official rule against PDA. That being said, the late Queen Elizabeth doesn't want her family to act unprofessional at any time when representing the family. To the naked eye, it seems like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are madly in love, and it turns out that's exactly what it is. They love each other. Body language expert Darren Stanton, on behalf of Slingo, says that the two really are smitten with each other. You know, because of all the hand-holding, lingering stares. And with that, let's play this game called Stop Judging Them and Mind Your Own Business. It's actually my favorite game. Private letter. Thomas Markle added to her royal wedding, which he ultimately didn't attend because of a medical issue. To Prince Harry, Meghan Markle wrote a private letter to her dad, pleading him to stop cooperating with the press. In it, Meghan said she felt absolutely blindsided by the pain her father was puppeteered into creating by the media. She said that the lies her father was spreading about her with the help of the media have broken her heart into a million pieces, and claimed that she only ever wanted to help him, whether it was financially, medically, or with the harassment he had claimed to have been experiencing, no thanks to the paparazzi. At the end of her letter, Meghan begged Thomas to please stop lying, please stop creating so much pain, please stop exploiting my relationship with my husband. But he did the exact opposite. Thomas sold the letter, and the site published it for the world to see. Even more Markle family secrets. The Duchess later sued the Associated Newspaper Limited owners of the site for breach of privacy and won. Meghan had a reasonable expectation of privacy, and the site was fanciful to think otherwise.
Meghan Markle accused of donating to a fraudulent charity. A charity championed by the Duchess of Sussex is facing an investigation after it emerged the mother and daughter at its helm were paid almost $2 million in less than 5 years. In a dramatic move, the Charity Commission launched a probe into the One Young World just days after portraits of Meghan and the Duchess of Sussex taken at the charity's annual summit in Manchester in September were published. One Young World describes itself as a global forum for young leaders and has enjoyed a soaring public profile thanks to the Duchess, who became one of its counselors in 2014. Meghan told delegates in Manchester she was thrilled Harry was able to join her to witness firsthand. Meghan told delegates in Manchester she was thrilled Harry was able to join her to witness firsthand my respect for this organization. But the mail revealed that the regulatory has intervened amid concerns that the eye-watering pay and benefits package handed to senior bosses at the charity. There is no suggestion that Harry and Meghan, who were among a string of celebrities backers of the charity including Richard Branson, Bob Geldof, and Emma Watson, knew of the pay levels. One Young World's chief executive, Kate Robertson, was awarded a $440,000 pay package for the 18 months in June 2021, despite the pandemic interrupting its summits, the biggest source of its revenue. Her daughter, Ella McKay, one of the charity's two managing directors, enjoyed a $194,000 pay and benefits package for the same period. Following questions from this newspaper, the Charity Commission this weekend announced that it had opened a regulatory compliance case to examine concerns about remuneration at One Young World. In a statement, a spokesperson said all charities should be able to look donors and volunteers in the eye and say how their decisions about pay impact on the case they pursue or the people they help. The commission said that the opening of a compliance case is not a finding of wrongdoing, but is the first step it can take in examining potential wrongdoing. A spokesperson for One Young World said it was working with the commission to answer any questions they may have. We are confident that there has been absolutely no wrongdoing. Founded in 2009 by top advertising executives, Mrs. Robertson Robertson, and David Jones. One Young World says it has created a network for more than 13,000 young leaders. Its annual summits have attracted a host of celebrities. At this year's 4-day summit, Meghan gave a speech during the 2-hour-long opening ceremony in Manchester's Bridgewater Hall after flying to the UK. Attendance at One Young World Summit does not come cheap. Delegates are charged $3,000 for a pass that includes lunch and dinner. A pass that also includes accommodation costs $4,000. Those fees and separate fees for exhibition space are the charity's main source of funding. Board revenue plunged after a summit due to be held in Munich was delayed until July 2021 by the pandemic. The charity's accounts show that despite it not holding a summit between 2020 and 2021, its top 5 bosses, including Mrs. Robertson and Mrs. McKay, were awarded almost $1.4 million in pay and benefits. The charity said 84% of the total pay and benefits were deferred until the next accounting period, but confirmed executives will still receive the full amount. It said that the salaries of the leadership team had been independently audited and approved by its trustees. Both Kate Robertson and Ella McKay's salaries are set by the board independently of any involvement of Mrs. Robertson, it added.
The secret note. Queen Elizabeth II left behind a secret letter which cannot be opened until 2085. So yes, this will be answered, but oh my, does it ever make you curious. I'm 20, so there's a chance I'll never get to hear the words she left on that note, which is sad, and could be a possibility for many others watching this video. She left a note which is not to be opened for another 62 years. It is such a cool concept, as if it's a time capsule, but maybe it addresses one last piece of wisdom or to address the future generation, or maybe it's nothing serious, all but a grocery list. Only time will tell. What do you think's in the secret note? Her love life. Her love life with late Prince Philip is one of that the public knows so much about, but not all. Princess Elizabeth was just a preteen when she met the 18-year-old dashing Philip, who was then a cadet in the British Navy. In 1946, the press spotted Philip helping the princess put on her coat at her cousin's wedding and noticed the connection between them. The couple was secretly engaged at the time, but the palace waited 3 years until Elizabeth was 21 to make the official announcement. As interesting as those little secrets are, the amazing part of the relationship is the fact that they were married for 73 years before Prince Philip's passing. That relationship doesn't only set records, but is stronger than the diamond on her ring. Project Party. The Queen wanted to party like a commoner, but this was difficult due to her status. Luckily, her foolproof plan ended in her most memorable night. Elizabeth and Margaret got their parents' permission to join the massive crowd celebrating the end of WW2 on May 8th, 1945. I remember lines of unknown people linking arms and walking down Whitehall. All of us just swept along on a tide of happiness and relief, she said in 1985. She went incognito and partied like there was no tomorrow, which I'm glad she was able to enjoy, considering she had a major spotlight on her from a young age. Secret relative. So speaking on technicality here, but Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were technically cousins. Third cousins to be exact. Elizabeth was related to Queen Victoria on her father's side, and Philip was related to Queen Victoria on her mother's side. It's a gray area frowned upon today, but it wasn't back then when they got married. I wouldn't consider it blood related, maybe just a drop, that's about it. No, let's just forget about it and move on. She was 182 years old. Obviously, she wasn't 182 years old. Why would you believe that? But she was 96 when she passed, and she celebrated her birthday twice a year, to where that dumb joke came from. The Queen's real birthday is April 21st, but the country doesn't officially celebrate until June 11th. Monarchs with birthdays in colder months typically schedule an additional official birthday when the weather is likely to be better for the parade. Elizabeth had one every June called Trooping the Colors. I wish I had a warmer birthday, but my parents enjoyed their Valentine's Day, which landed me in November. Dogs. The late Queen was a dog person because, I mean, who likes cats? She in fact owned 30 corgis throughout her life. Elizabeth's father brought home the royal family's first corgi in 1933, and on her 18th birthday, Elizabeth was gifted her own corgi named Susan. According to the Associated Press, many of her subsequent corgis descended directly from Susan. Susan got to work. Corgis wouldn't be my first choice of dog, but I love this little secret. Aqua Queen. The Queen has a pretty dope little secret, and that is as early as the 12th century, the British monarch laid claim to all mute swans in the country. According to the official royal family website, back then the birds were considered delicacy. The Queen doesn't eat those swans, years, but she technically still owned them. Every year, the Queen's Swan Marker, which is actually a good paying job and the actual job title, leads a multi-day census called the Swan Upping to count the birds and check up on their health. Plus, thanks to the 1324 statute, the Queen can also claim ownership of all fishes royal. That means any sturgeons, dolphins, whales that reside in waters around the UK. She wrote to the moon. Ahead of the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, dozens of the world leaders were invited to write messages of goodwill that were transferred onto a small silicone disc. That disc is still sitting on the surface of the moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin placed it just below the American flag they planted at the landing site. According to NASA, on behalf of the British people, I salute the skill and courage which have brought man to the moon, the Queen wrote in her moon message. May this endeavor increase the knowledge and well-being of mankind. I wonder what everyone else wrote. Quick little side debate. Do you think the moon landing's real? I'll be reading the comments for your opinion. Partier at heart. The Queen used to enjoy a cocktail before lunch and a glass of champagne before bed. And that's why she's my favorite, because royal or not, she still wanted to get her buzz on. Love it. Margaret Rhodes, the Queen's cousin, once said that the Queen has a strict regimen for her beverage intake. She reportedly took a cocktail before lunch with a slice of a lemon and a lot of ice. In October 2021, Vanity Fair reported that the then 95-year-old has been advised by doctors to give up her daily beverage drinking and opt for water and juices instead. The beverages have gone. Her doctors want to make sure she is fit and healthy as possible, a source told the publication. Doctors are always ruining the fun. Her sense of humor is no secret but a great way to remember the Queen, and that is the smiles she left on people's faces. Apparently, the monarch had a great sense of humor and a talent for mimicry. According to the Associated Press, the Queen's chaplain bishop, Michael Mann, once said, "The Queen imitating the Concorde landing is one of the funniest things you could ever see." She has been said to have quite the sense of humor, and for that and every other wholehearted thing, rest your soul, Queen Elizabeth II, and may your memories carry on. Thank you for watching. 10 secret ways the royal family is protected. Food. Of course, like many other important people, the royals are at fear of being poisoned, which means when outside of their humble abode, the royals have to avoid certain foods to stand clear of potential medical emergencies. The family avoids shellfish when they eat out so they don't run the risk of getting food poisoning. Similarly, they skip rare red meats, aka no good food. But to be fair, I've got food poisoning and it's not that fun. Tip of the day, if it's 12 a.m. and you order $5 shawarma, don't have any plans the next day. Food again. This time speaking at the royal banquets. The former royal chef revealed that when catering for the royals, a satellite kitchen would be set up at the banquet. The food would be transferred into the banquet on foot. If we were catering for a heads of state banquet, however, then all the catering staff would have to meet at a police station, get a motorcycle ride into Cardiff Castle. He explained for higher caliber banquets, we're required to put all our food container, knives, and kitchen equipment through an X-ray machine, whilst motorcycles then drive us to the castle. Great, my chicken tastes like radiation, guys. Bunker. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best, right? That's why the royals have not one, but 3 different bunkers for if that day ever came. Elaborate plans include using a number of ferries as floating bunkers around Scotland coast. A castle bunker, the top secret hideaway, was reportedly demolished during the devastation in 1992 fire, and in 2019 it was claimed the Python scenarios were updated as part of Operation Yellowhammer plans for no-deal Brexit. I personally have my own bunker. It consists of canned food, a Rubik's Cube, 2 paper clips, and a drawing of 3 of the 4 Ninja Turtles. They aren't. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Plot twist. While Harry and Meghan were stepping back from their duties, they say they were advised on short notice that their security detail would be removed. Now, what that means is drama, and that's exactly what came from it. To a fair degree, stepping back from the royal family doesn't mean security threats and status just go away. Harry dealt with the passing of his mother in a security threat manner, therefore I can understand his major concern. Privacy. The royal family, unlike government officials, does not have to disclose non-public information and can keep whatever they'd like a secret. The late queen to a degree had an open door policy in which she was okay with sharing information, but we have seen times where major court cases from the public eye and fast. This also in return is for their staff, and the staff all have NDAs that make sure they don't go putting out any information about the royals family lifestyle when those palace doors shut. Life for a life. The royal family's protection officers will in fact risk their lives to save the royals. This may be common knowledge, but it's crazy to think someone signed up for, I'm assuming, a pretty good pay to take a bullet for the royals, and they would. This goes for many other protection services for important people, and we've seen it in action during assassination attempts where the security makes a heroic dive. Fortunately, I've never seen the Freaky Friday life swap, and everyone's been safe. Travel. Every family has its traditions. The royal family is no exception, but it's no ordinary family tradition. In case you were thinking I meant something along the lines of laying in on the weekend or rewatching Friends or The Office every Friday night, their tradition is more of a protocol based around security fears. Family members of the same line are not allowed to travel in the same plane together so that just in the case of an accident, wiping the royal lineage is prevented. The tradition has only once been broken by Prince Philip when he flew to Canada in the same plane as Prince George, who will succeed him one day in the future. He did, however, ask for the Queen's permission beforehand, but it was a risky move. Hostage. Do you know that every time the late Queen visited state openings of Parliament, the royal household is obligated to take a hostage? I know they do some wacky things, but this is just kind of weird. The rule dates back to a time when Parliament and the royals didn't get on well. To assure a safe return to the Queen, the royal household thought it was best to take a member of Parliament with them to the ceremony in case anything bad happened to the late Queen. This goes on to this day, despite the fact that the relationship between the royals and Parliament isn't so tense, but it is a precaution. The chosen MP is kept perfectly safe and taken care of throughout the ceremony. Autographs. Have you seen a member of the royal family signing autographs? You won't, because technically they're not allowed to, so if you happen to ask the Duchess for her signature, she will have to kindly decline you, because she isn't allowed to give it. This stems from the fear of a signature being forged. Kate is also not allowed to take selfies, but that's not restricted to Kate alone. None of the royal family members are allowed to do selfies. There's so many rules in the royal household. They also can't touch people beyond a handshake, and that works the other way around. You're not allowed to touch them either. Only formal handshakes are allowed in the form of physical touching. Raven. The tale that 6 ravens live in the Tower of London is in fact not a myth. They actually do live there at all times. Sounds pretty strange, but there's actually some basis for it. It dates back to an era of Charles II when he required that 7 ravens live in the tower. By 7, he actually meant 6 ravens and a spare. The request was actually spurred from a legend that once said, if the ravens leave the tower, the kingdom will fall. And so the words inspired Charles II to ensure that there were 7 ravens living at the Tower of London. The tradition has been upheld. You will find 7 or maybe 6 ravens at the Tower of London today. That's so, Raven. Thanks for watching.
10 secrets King Charles will take to the grave. Camilla secrets. Camilla is threatening to expose King Charles's deepest, darkest secrets, and the monarch is on red alert. These revelations have been brought forward by an informant close to National Enquirer. The insider started off by making explosive revelations about Queen Camilla's issues and revealed during one of their marriage crises, Camilla threatened a tell-all book exposing his deepest secrets, including his kinky intimacy habits. This comes amid a similar admission by the source, who explained the reality of the tough spot King Charles is under and said, "Make no mistake, Charles has waited decades to become king, and he wants to cement his place in history. He won't let anything or anyone, even Camilla, stand in his way." Secret skill. Behind closed doors, the 74-year-old monarch is a proficient ice skater and even has a certificate in the sport. The king reportedly learned to ice skate at the Richmond Ice Rink, receiving a certificate of merit in March 1962 when he was 14. His mother, Queen Elizabeth II, enjoyed skating during childhood too, taking lessons at the Park Lane Ice Club. Her Majesty also served as royal patron for British ice skating's national governing body from 1952. Following her passing, British ice skating even released a statement saying, "For those skaters who have been fortunate enough to have met her over the years, she conveyed warmth, passion, and a genuine interest in our wonderful sport. Real dad. In this article, it repeats as follows. Globe claimed that the heir to the throne finally told the Duke of Sussex the truth of his parentage. An unnamed source told the tabloid that Prince Charles became so fed up with Meghan Markle's whining that he summoned his youngest son to Buckingham Palace. While there, Prince Charles reportedly dropped a huge bombshell about not being Prince Harry's biological father. The insider even claimed to have known the exact words that Prince Charles reportedly told Prince Harry. "I am not your biological father. After your brother William's birth, your mother and I grew apart. Diana betrayed me and conceived you during a secret affair with another man," the insider claimed. But the shocking claims don't end there. Prince Charles reportedly told Markle's husband that he's known the truth for years since he took a DNA test that proved that they were not related. Some juicy stuff here. Red box. Britain's royalty likely knows more state secrets than any family in history thanks to personal briefings and the mysterious red box of secrets, delivered daily to the monarch wherever they may be. The royal boxes are bursting with secrets from British intelligence agencies, British government ministers, and Commonwealth countries. Documents are sent through the private secretary's office to the king or queen, wherever they are in residence, in a locked red dispatch box. But what's inside? During the reign of Queen Victoria, 1837 to 1901, one of the red box's reports concerned Russian military intentions that had come from a human source via the Duke of Wellington, according to Spying in the Crown 2021. Together, the PM and Queen decided the intelligence was unlikely to be true. In any case, they couldn't verify it. But the historic meeting illustrated that the red box of intelligence has long predated the 1909 founding of Britain's elite MI6 intelligence service. The tradition of the dispatch box can be traced back to the reign of Queen Elizabeth I from 1558 to 1603, where the term dispatch referred to an important message for the Queen. The modern red leather and pine boxes used by royalty and government to transport state documents were introduced in the early 1840s under Queen Victoria. What do you think is inside King Charles's red box? List of demands. King Charles was reportedly nicknamed the Pampered Prince by his staff at Clarence House, where he lived with his wife, Queen Consort Camilla, from 2003 until he recently took the throne. Details of the former Prince of Wales's lavish requests were revealed in the 2015 Amazon Prime documentary Serving the Royals Inside the Firm. Paul Burrell, who served as a butler to Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana, revealed the precise directions the king's staff are given to care for him. From ironing his shoelaces to putting toothpaste on his toothbrush, the former butler shared that King Charles had everything. His pajamas are pressed every morning, his shoelaces are pressed flat with an iron, the bath plug was to be in a certain position, and the water temperature has to be just tepid, in a bathtub filled only half full, Burrell said. The king even has his valets squeeze 1 inch of toothpaste onto his toothbrush every morning. After getting ready, King Charles' strict morning routine is continued with his breakfast. Prince Charles has a healthier option. He'd have homemade bread, a bowl of fresh fruit juices, said Chef Graham Newbold, a former member of the royal staff. Wherever the prince goes in the world, the breakfast box goes with him. He has 6 different types of honey, some special mueslis, his dried fruit, and anything that's a bit special that he is a bit fussy about. He also supposedly insists his cheese and biscuits be warmed to a certain temperature at the end of meals and makes his staff keep a warming tray nearby, since he's particular about everything, a royal insider told My London. Security measures. When the government introduced stricter regulations on passing in certain protected sites such as Downing Street, Chequers, and Buckingham Palace, Charles's home in Tetbury was also granted this level of protection as he was heir to the throne. Another change made for King Charles's safety was the removal of any public footpaths running too close to the property. Arthur relived the moment. "I'm walking along this path with a big telescope lens on my shoulder, and he came galloping up on his horse. 'What are you doing on my land?' he screamed, and I said, 'I'm not on your land, I'm on a public footpath, sir.' One visible security measure outside the house is the large stone wall around the perimeter. And overhead, the skies are protected from intrusion as there is an aerial exclusion zone for civilian aircrafts, and this rule has been in place since 1991. Inside the house, there is also a major security feature, a secret panic room, should the heir and his wife need to use it in an emergency. There has been rife speculation about what could be stored in the safe space, anything from food supplies through to possibly blood supplies that match the blood groups for Charles and Camilla. Drinking. King Charles III's secret drinking habit has been revealed, but the drink has to be served in a very, very specific way. Charles's friend, Count Tibor Kalnoky, said the king visited him in Transylvania, Romania, a number of years ago. Count Tibor added that the king liked the area so much he decided to buy a property there, while he also revealed that during his trip, Charles drank a martini every night before having dinner. Bullied at school. Charles was bullied at school. Children called him fatty and picked on his prominent ears. His great uncle, Earl Mountbatten, urged Charles's parents to have them surgically pinned back to no avail. This is the small amount that was told on the subject, but maybe Charles cut out the funnel cakes and kids won't call you names. Underage. Charles ordered a cherry brandy for 2 shillings and a 6-piece in an Isle of Lewis pub after riding on a Gordon Stone school sailboat. It was illegal for under 18-year-olds to be served, and unfortunately for Charles, a reporter was sitting at the bar. A national scandal ensued, and the prince's bodyguard, Don Green, lost his job. Magic. Charles has a love for magic, and was inducted into the Magic Circle in 1975 after performing a cup and balls trick, though his acceptance may have been pre-decided, as his certificate was signed in advance of the audition. Prepare to be a little grossed out. Prince Charles's marriage to Lady Diana Spencer was nothing if not rocky. Both parties had numerous affairs, including Prince Charles's very public romance with his previous girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles, the Duchess of Cornwall. Both Charles and Camilla were still married to their prospective spouses, but it didn't stop them exchanging some very kinky phone calls. In 1992, the year Charles and Diana officially separated, a phone conversation was leaked where Charles expressed the desire to live inside Camilla's trousers as a pair of underwear, or most disturbingly, a Tampax. Ugh. The press went wild and titled the incident Tampon Gate. I bet his mother had some stern words with him over that one. As the Brits would say, bloody heck. No pun intended. Dating to Dahmer. 7th in line for the throne and the Queen's granddaughter, Princess Beatrice is a socialite and philanthropist. She also has made some dodgy dating decisions in the past. In 2006, when the princess was just 17 years old, she started dating American playboy Paolo Luzo. Prior to his relationship with Princess Beatrice, Luzo was arrested for the manslaughter of 19-year-old Jonathan Ducatelier. Ducatelier was savagely beaten and passed away as a result of his injuries in 2002, after allegedly confronting Luzo for disrespecting females at a party. Amazingly, the manslaughter charge was dropped and reduced to assault and battery. Luzo even broke the terms of his probation while wooing Beatrice by taking a trip to the French Alps. Thankfully, the relationship did not last. Andrew. Prince Andrew is no stranger to controversy. In 2011, it emerged that the prince was good friends with convicted intimacy offender and American financier. I think we all know who I'm talking about. He was found guilty of soliciting intimacy acts from girls in June 2008. Police had launched an investigation into the person after a mother of a 14-year-old girl came forward and found some unsettling evidence. He was sentenced to 18 months, but released after serving just 13. Sarah Ferguson claimed that her ex-husband had asked this unspoken of man to clear some of her debts, although he later reported he had cut all ties with him. Buckingham Palace came under new pressure to explain the prince's ties with the American in 2015. Little person tossing. Yes, it's as bizarre as it sounds. He may not be of royal by blood, but rugby ace Mike Tindall married Princess Anne's daughter, Zara Phillips, so the connection is there. In 2011, the former England captain spent a night at a dwarf tossing club in New Zealand, following their win over Argentina. Although Tindall said not one member of the team threw a dwarf, his presence there was enough to outrage media and stars alike, including Peter Dinklage, who plays Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones. Do you think this is worse or on par with Harry's costume faux pas? I didn't even know this was a thing. Seems like the dwarf tossing scandal was short-lived. Number 8. The Hidden Prince. King George V and Queen Mary had been hiding a 6th son from the public, as he had epileptic seizures and George believed it would make their family appear weak. Due to these seizures, Prince John spent the last 4 years of his life in York Cottage at the Sandringham estate. The prince tragically passed away while he was very young due to a tragic seizure. The prince would have been Queen Elizabeth II's uncle. This is extremely unfortunate and reveals the extreme stigma against mental and physical ailments the royal family has. Racism. In 2009, Prince Harry was dealt a huge blow to his reputation when a tape emerged of him using racial slurs against members of his own army platoon, whilst they waited to be deployed from Sandhurst Military Academy. In the video, appearing as though it is shot by Harry himself, you can hear the prince using offensive language as well as racist terms. Once again, Harry had to make a public apology to try and save the royal family from further embarrassment. It didn't work, and the footage was relentlessly replayed around the world. In the statement, Harry said he understood the impact of his words and the offense they could cause. Megan, you heard about this? Princess Diana's mental state. Apparently when she was still with us, Princess Diana struggled with mental health issues. She was actually struggling with depression and thought of taking her own life many times, even acting on the thoughts 5 times. Diana was said to have flung herself downstairs, cut her wrists with a razor, cut her chest and thighs with a knife, thrown herself at a glass cabinet, and cut herself with a lemon slicer in tormented cries for help. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to have gotten much help from her family, as many of them think seeking treatment doesn't look good for them. Guns. They say you're only as good as the company you keep. If that's the case, Prince Andrew really isn't much good at all. Before his 2011 dalliance with convicted, let's call him the island boy, the prince publicly went on holiday to Tunisia with convicted gun smuggler Tariq Khaitouni. Libyan-born Khaitouni is said to have presented Andrew and his daughters with very expensive jewelry in exchange for some of the prince's business influence. The press were quick to jump on the royal for being so blatant about his deplorable social circle, with the Times stating in 2015, Prince Andrew dazzles easily when confronted with immense wealth and apparent power. He has fallen for friendships with bad, corrupt, and clever men. Ouch. We wonder what Mother had to say on that matter. Andrew again? It might be easy to see why Sarah Ferguson isn't in the good graces of the Queen. After all, not only was she loosey-goosey with her affairs, in 2010, an undercover reporter sensationally recorded her as she sold access to her ex-husband Prince Andrew. It wasn't for small change either. She attempted to bank $700,000 for the deal. The Duchess was filmed telling the fake businessman, "Do you understand that I absolutely have not a pot to pee in? I left the royal family with friendship, no money. Diana left with 20 million euros. And that's why the Queen is my friend, because I never took a bean from them. I have the biggest heart and the biggest of everything, but I have zero money. I have nothing." Is the Queen really your friend though, Duchess? Prince Harry. It seems as though there couldn't possibly be any more scandal surrounding Prince Charles and Princess Diana, but believe me, we've only just scraped the surface. In 1995, Diana let it all out in a tell-all interview with journalist Martin Bashir on the BBC program Panorama. In the interview, Diana admitted to her 5-year affair with James Hewitt, a military man. It was widely speculated after Diana's passing that Hewitt was the biological father of her son, Prince Harry, and not King Charles. Although the two are extremely similar looks-wise, Hewitt has denied it, saying Harry was born before the relationship started. What do you think? I personally think, no offense Charles, but Harry has to come from Hewitt because he's way too attractive. There's a centuries-old claim that Edward IV was illegitimate, born to Cecily, Duchess of York, by an English archer, surnamed Blayborn by some, while her husband, Richard Plantagenet, 3rd Duke of York, was fighting elsewhere in France. The legitimacy of Edward IV was the subject of speculation at the time, and a document in Rowan Cathedral is presented by Dr. Michael Jones as indicating that Richard and Cecily were about 100 miles or 160 kilometers apart during the 5-week period when Edward's conception must have occurred, assuming that the pregnancy went to a normal term. If Edward were indeed illegitimate, then he and his descendants would have had no valid claim to the throne, so the claim suggests that the real monarchs were the heirs of his legitimate brother George, Duke of Clarence. Princess Margaret. The late Princess Margaret, the Queen's sister, piqued public interest with her lifestyle choices. A heavy smoker and drinker since the age of 15, Margaret lived life as she wanted to. Although she married photographer Anthony Armstrong Jones in 1960, Margaret's conquests didn't end there. In 1973, the princess started an affair with a gardener, 17 years her junior. Margaret didn't escape the press, and in 1976, a picture of the princess with her lover, Roddy Llewellyn, appeared on the front page of the now defunct News of the World. This wasn't the first extramarital affair that rocked the marriage, and by 1978, the divorce was finalized. Rabid dog. Princess Anne is the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth, sister to Prince Charles and Prince Andrew. Known for her charity work, it might surprise you to realize that Anne is no stranger to scandal either. In 2002, Princess Anne and her husband were putting their dogs into the car after walking them in Windsor Great Park. One of the dogs, an English Bull Terrier, escaped and ravagely attacked two young boys riding their bikes. The couple were taken to court and ordered to pay a fine, making it the first time a senior royal had ever been charged with a criminal offense. The dog was allowed to live, to the anger of the victims' families. The following year, the same dog ended one of the Queen's most beloved corgis, when it was revealed that Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II were distant cousins. This revelation was initially reported by Business Insider. The report states that both Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip are directly related to Queen Victoria. The relation is that Queen Victoria was Elizabeth's paternal great-great-grandmother, and Prince Philip was related on his mother's side. Keeping things in the family is well known to have happened throughout history with royal families around the world, and the royal family of the United Kingdom is no exception. The thought process behind it is to keep the family pure and the royals royal through blood. When a prince partied like a rock star. A British royal prince with matinee idol looks and an artistic temperament falls into bad company and gets hooked on hard substances. He leads a scandalous life with both men and women, and is rumored to have fathered several illegitimate children. His impeccable dress sense makes him a style icon. He marries a beautiful European princess, and they become both the nation's favorites and the toast of high society, but the bisexual affairs allegedly continue. Leaving the Royal Navy, which he hates, he becomes the first royalty to work as a civil servant. Prince George Edward Alexander Edmund was the royal in question, and is always left out of the conversation when talking about the history of royals. He is known as the Forgotten Prince.
Raven. The tale that 6 ravens live in the Tower of London is in fact not a myth. They actually do live there at all times. Sounds pretty strange, but there's actually some basis for it. It dates back to an era of Charles II when he required that 7 ravens live in the tower. By 7, he actually meant 6 ravens and a spare. The request was actually spurred from a legend that once said, if the ravens leave the tower, the kingdom will fall. And so the words inspired Charles II to ensure that there were 7 ravens living at the Tower of London. The tradition has been upheld. You will find 7 or maybe 6 ravens at the Tower of London today. That's so Raven. Travel. Every family has its traditions. The royal family is no exception, but it's no ordinary family tradition. In case you were thinking I meant something along the lines of laying in on the weekend or rewatching Friends or The Office every Friday night, their tradition is more of a protocol based around security fears. Family members of the same line are not allowed to travel in the same plane together so that just in the case of an accident, wiping the royal lineage is prevented. The tradition has only once been broken by Prince Philip when he flew to Canada in the same plane as Prince George, who will succeed him one day in the future. He did, however, ask for the Queen's permission beforehand, but it was a risky move. Life for a life. The royal family's protection officers will in fact risk their lives to save the royals. This may be common knowledge, but it's crazy to think someone signed up for, I'm assuming, a pretty good pay to take a bullet for the royals, and they would. This goes for many other protection services for important people, and we've seen it in action during assassination attempts where the security makes a heroic dive. Fortunately, I've never seen the Freaky Friday life swap, and everyone's been safe. Privacy. The royal family, unlike government officials, does not have to disclose non-public information and can keep whatever they'd like a secret. The late Queen, to a degree, had an open door policy in which she was okay with sharing information, but we have seen times where major court cases from the public eye and fast. This also in return is for their staff, and the staff all have NDAs that make sure they don't go putting out any information about the royals family lifestyle when those palace doors shut.
At number 10, the media revealed that Edward VII and his wife had multiple long meetings with the ruler of Germany in the 1940s. Queen Elizabeth II's uncle and his wife were apparent friends with the man. British intelligence had reason to believe that Simpson was handing over information to the opposing country from documents that Edward VIII did not secure. The British government went to extensive measures to keep their companionship hidden, but a document published in 1957 confirmed it. This relationship was later revisited in the TV show The Crown, which is loosely based on the true history of the royal family. At number 9, when Prince Charles drank while he was 14 years old. At a pub, the young prince was overheard by a tabloid journalist as he ordered a cherry brandy in the village of Stornoway Harbor. The prince recounted the moment in an interview stating, "I said the first drink that came into my head because I'd drunk it before, when it was cold, out shooting." This caused huge controversy for the royal family and was in the news for a long time and on every tabloid. It is known now that Prince Charles, now King Charles, is a drinker. He prefers many strong beverages, especially before dinner. And maybe this incident is the catalyst for his love of truth serum. At number 8, Princess Margaret's divorce. After her split from her previous husband, Peter Townsend, Princess Margaret got married to a photographer named Anthony Armstrong Jones. They made their split official in 1976, and Buckingham Palace put out a statement that said, "Her Royal Highness the Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon, and the Earl of Snowdon have mutually agreed to live apart. The princess will carry out her public duties and functions unaccompanied by Lord Snowdon. There are no plans for divorce proceedings." Her very high-profile divorce became official in 1978, and she became the first royal to get a divorce since King Henry VII got one in the 1500s. At number 7, the affair between Princess Diana and James Gilbey. Princess Diana was married to Prince Charles at the time the affair between the royal and the man was published in 1992. Through a leaked transcript of a phone call between the two, the affair came to light as The Sun released the recorded call. During the phone call, James expressed his undying love for the princess. The affair was given the name Squidgygate, after the nickname the man called Princess Diana during the phone call. He said the name Squidgy to her 53 times, to be exact. At number 6, the affair between Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles. Soon after the affair between Princess Diana and James Gilbey was published, an Australian magazine published a transcript of their own, detailing a scandalous conversation between the prince and his longtime friend Camilla. The phone call confirmed that they were involved romantically with each other, and many dirty jokes were published from the call. Most of them are much too naughty for me to say on this website. Just know that Prince Charles has a spicy side to him, and I hope no one ever has to see that again. At number 5, the time Sarah Ferguson sold out her Prince X. In 2010, a journalist went undercover as a businessman and offered Ferguson £500,000 in exchange for scandalous information about her ex-husband Prince Andrew, Duke of York. News source The Guardian reported that Sarah Ferguson said to the reporter, "That opens up everything you would ever wish for. I can open any door you want, and I will for you. Look after me, and he'll look after you. You'll get it back tenfold." The Duchess later apologized, claiming she had a serious lapse in judgment. The journalist probably could have used this opportunity to get clips or comments of her disrespecting Prince Andrew and spilling some juicy secrets if they kept going, but there was no evidence I could find of that happening. At number 4, the time Kate Middleton was caught sunbathing topless. During a vacation to Provence, France between Kate Middleton and Prince William, Kate had some time to enjoy the sun in the privacy of her and William's remote house. Unbeknownst to them, a French photographer had snuck an angle of the woman and snapped a photo of her topless. The photo was published in a newspaper, and Buckingham Palace came to her defense, saying, "Their Royal Highnesses had every expectation of privacy in the remote house. It is unthinkable that anyone should take such photographs, let alone publish them." Criminal charges were then pressed on the photographer and the publisher. At number 3, when Princess Michael wore a racially insensitive brooch to a gathering. During the Queen's Christmas luncheon, which new member of the family at the time, Meghan Markle, was attending, Princess Michael wore a decidedly distasteful brooch. Meghan Markle is of course biracial, and when photos came out of the brooch, it seemed like the princess might have done this on purpose, as a hidden attack at her disapproval of Meghan. Princess Michael had said some very discriminatory things before, so many people wouldn't put it past her to pull off such a stunt. At number 2, when the hidden 6th son was revealed to the public. King George V and Queen Mary had been hiding a 6th son from the public, as he had epileptic seizures, and George believed it would make their family appear weak. Due to these seizures, Prince John spent the last 4 years of his life in York Cottage at the Sandringham estate. The prince tragically passed away while he was very young due to a tragic seizure. The prince would have been Queen Elizabeth II's uncle. At number 1, when it was revealed that Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II were distant cousins. This revelation was initially reported by Business Insider. The report states that both Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip are directly related to Queen Victoria. The relation is that Queen Victoria was Elizabeth's paternal great-great-grandmother, and Prince Philip was related on his mother's side. Now that's what I call keeping it in the family.
In her first extensive public comments, Meghan's mother Doria Raglan spoke about her first time meeting Harry, as well as her fears for her safety and regrets as a parent. She also described the last 5 years as challenging. Describing the early years of her daughter's childhood, Raglan, who is an African American, recalled repeatedly being asked if she was the nanny as her daughter's skin color was lighter. Her mother said, "As a parent in hindsight, I would absolutely like to go back and have a very real conversation about how the world sees you." When Meghan began to face negative media attention, Raglan recalled telling her daughter, "This is about race," with Meghan replying, "I don't want to hear that." Her own family. The Duchess discussed her estrangement from her father following a controversy over whether he staged a series of paparazzi-style photographs in the lead up to their 2018 wedding. Harry described the situation with his father-in-law as incredibly sad. "I shouldered that because if Meg wasn't with me, her dad would still be her dad." Meghan opened up about her half-sister Samantha Markle, who she said she hadn't seen since her early 20s, but who frequently spoke of her in the media. Meghan said, "I don't know your middle name, I don't know your birthday, and you're telling these people that you raised me, and you coined me Princess Pushy." Also interviewed on the show was Ashley Hales, Samantha Markle's estranged daughter, who Meghan remains close with. The mixed race bias. In contrast to Meghan's experience growing up mixed race, Harry said that there was a huge level of unconscious bias in the royal family. Harry said, "The thing with unconscious bias is it's actually no one's fault, but once it's been pointed out or identified within yourself, you need to make it right." Harry even addressed the time that he wore a German soldier from WW2's uniform to a private party in 2005, saying it was one of his biggest mistakes, and he added he felt so ashamed afterwards. Socks and jeans. Meghan recalled meeting Prince William and his wife Catherine over dinner. Oblivious to royal protocols, she said that she was barefoot and wearing ripped jeans at the time. She described herself as a hugger, but said that this can be jarring for some British people. "I guess I started to understand very quickly that the formalities on the outside carried throughout on the inside," she said. "The formalities carry over on both sides, and that was surprising to me. I enjoy hugs too, Meghan, don't worry. But what I don't enjoy is ripped jeans and bare feet." No accommodations. After news of their relationship broke, Meghan recalled how quickly she became the focus of photographers in the media. The royal family regards such intrusion almost as a workplace hazard. According to Harry, as far as a lot of the family were concerned, everything that she was being put through, they had been put through as well. Harry said, "So it was almost like a rite of passage. Some of the members of the family were like, right, but my wife had to go through that. So why should your girlfriend be treated any differently? Why should you get special treatment? Why should she be protected?" I said the difference here is the race element. Certain type of woman. In a telling section on his experience of other royal marriages, Harry said, "I think for so many people in the family, especially the men, there can be a temptation or an urge to marry someone who would fit the mold as opposed to someone who perhaps you're destined to be with. The difference between making decisions with your head or heart, and my mom certainly made most of her decisions, if not all of them, from her heart, and I am my mother's son." Highlighting the fact that it's a prominent thing to marry someone into the royal family who you see to be fit as a royal. Media attention. Harry brought up the now discredited 1995 Panorama interview with his mother, Princess Diana. While he acknowledged that she had been deceived, he said that she had spoken the truth. He said, "My mother was harassed throughout her life with my dad, but after they separated, the harassment went to new levels. The moment she left the institution left her completely exposed." He said, "Growing up, he witnessed pain and suffering of women marrying into the institution." He added, "What happened to my mom, I didn't want history to repeat itself." I think we can all agree that that's a fair point from Harry. Press and paparazzi. Harry spoke at lengths about the media's ever-present role in his family life, starting with footage taken outside the hospital during his birth. Of the ongoing attention throughout his childhood, he said, "The majority of my memories are being swamped by paparazzi." He recalled learning as a young child how to handle the attention, saying, "Within the family, within the system, the advice that's always given is don't react, don't feed into it." My mom did such a good job in trying to protect us, she took it upon herself to basically confront these people. Footage of the family at a ski trip is highlighted in this. In one clip, Harry is seen alongside his brother Prince William and his cousins Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, as they are made to pose for the crowd of photographers. In an unwritten agreement, they would ultimately allow them privacy later in the holiday. But that was followed by another more intrusive clip, which led to his mother confronting the photographer. Bow down. Harry said that his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, was the first senior member of the royal family to meet Meghan. Meghan. Meghan recalled being told that she would have to curtsy. While Harry said, "How do you explain that you bow to your grandmother and that you all need to curtsy, especially to an American? That's weird." He went on to say that the members of the family were incredibly impressed, though were uncertain about the difference in their background and thought that her being a Hollywood actress meant this won't last. The actress thing was the biggest problem, funnily enough, Meghan said. There's a big idea of what that looks like from the UK standpoint. Hollywood, it was very easy to typecast that. Africa. The couple described how their relationship was cemented in Africa when Meghan traveled to join Harry on a visit to Botswana in August 2016. "Having only met twice before, we had to get to know each other before the rest of the world and before the media joined in," said Harry. They spoke of living in close quarters with the bare minimum and how they were still so unsure of how the relationship would develop. And this is a sad reality for royal members. If you do sort of want to explore a relationship with someone, you do have to take it off the grid so that the media doesn't pick up on it and twist the story right from the beginning.
She took off her shoes in public. Even on the beach, royals are expected to keep their shoes firmly on their feet. But Meghan took off her wedges at Bondi Beach during her and her Prince Harry's tour of Australia. She shared her political views. Legally, members of the British royal family aren't supposed to voice political opinions, as they're a non-political entity. However, Meghan has broken this rule a couple of times. First, she proudly declared herself as a feminist, and then reportedly revealed that she was pro-choice, which I don't think there's an issue with, but others do. She wore a dress with a high slit. The palace prefers that the royals keep their wardrobes conservative, meaning the thigh-high slit that Meghan rocked while visiting Fraser Island in Australia caused some controversy. She wore a super short dress. Yet again, her legs caused issues. This time it was a tuxedo dress that the Duchess wore to performance of Hamilton that had people saying she broke protocol with a short hem. She wore an off-the-shoulder dress. At Trooping the Colour in 2018, which was Meghan's second official appearance after her royal wedding, she opted for an off-the-shoulder Carolina Herrera dress. Some thought it broke the rule that royal women should dress modestly and not show too much skin, especially considering it was a daytime event. She closed her own car door. Royals do some normal things, but it's mostly when they aren't making official appearances. When Meghan closed her own car door during her first solo appearance as the Duchess of Sussex, the internet freaked out. An etiquette expert chimed in on why this was so noteworthy, explaining that when you are a member of the royal family, you have a member of staff to open and close a car door for you. She wore a deep V-neck. Meghan broke the royals' conservative clothing rule when she wore an Oscar de la Renta dress with a deep neckline. She sat with her legs crossed. For royal women, whenever they are sitting down, they're expected to sit with their legs and knees together while having their ankles crossed. Meghan, however, has not abided by those rules, which ultimately broke royal protocol. She wore dark nail polish. It is an unspoken rule that royal women should either wear no nail polish or neutral colors. For example, the Queen was wearing the same light ballet slippers shade by Essie, or no nail polish at all, for 28 years. But Meghan wore dark burgundy polish to the Fashion Awards in December 2018. She and Harry ditched their HRH titles while on tour. Harry and Meghan made their debut as royal family on their South African tour, and they made it clear that they wanted to shake up their image. Meghan and Harry asked fans to skip the HRH and simply refer to them as, well, Meghan and Harry. This was a move that completely dodged royal protocol. There's a reason they wear those hats. Apparently, in the old days, the hats were considered intimidating. Also, the hats' chin straps are fastened under their chins in case of attack. Cavalry soldiers would aim for the head, so that makes sense, I guess. The placing of the strap ensures that the hat would come off if hit without breaking their necks. The guns aren't loaded. The guards' intimidating weapons only have ammo in them when they're aware of a potential serious security threat. A guard on Reddit who uses the username Nibs123 says that he has never carried a loaded gun as a guardsman. But I guess in the case there is a serious security threat, then the gun would be loaded, but it doesn't happen very often. Women aren't allowed. When the guards are observed, it's easy to see that it's all men. This is because the British military women are not released to serve in combat units. But there was once an exception. In April 2007, for the first time, British Army women took on the role of the Queen's Guards when a contingent of artillery was assigned to protect Windsor Castle. But again, that was only one time. It has never and probably will never happen again. You have to pass a test. How difficult is it to become a member of the Queen's Guard, you might ask? Well, it's gonna be difficult because it's palace guards, right? Since the Guard is basically a military organization, candidates have to pass the BARB, the British Army Recruit Battery Test. According to a Redditor, the BARB tests your, quote, basic knowledge and smarts. The other requirements, however, well, one is you must be tall. Standing still for that long carries a serious health risk. Some people think the guards aren't allowed to move at all, but that's not true. In fact, moving is pretty much mandatory. The only movements they are allowed during their regular shift are to, quote, turn to the left, march about 10 paces, turn around, and go back to standing still, says a Redditor. It's best to do this every 10 minutes or so to stop yourself from fainting from the blood that gets trapped in your legs, they continued. They hate the hot weather. The stay still rule is so strict that guards even aren't allowed to wipe their sweat away. The heat is especially brutal. People will sometimes come from inside to bring them something to drink. However, what's their least favorite thing about the heat? The drill boots. The polish melts in direct heavy sunlight and they have to be redone. They have to faint properly. So as most of you probably know based on all the videos of guards fainting, that guards tend to faint very often. When they do though, they have to faint in a specific way. It's called faint to attention and they need to stay straight as they fall, essentially falling on their face. Doesn't sound very nice, does it? They turned the palace into a hotbed of high-risk gambling and Ponzi schemes. Managers turned a blind eye to culture of high-risk gambling schemes within the palace in which officers lured investors and colleagues into pumping huge sums into hopeless ventures, a source said. One such pyramid-like scheme set by a young constable was an investment in women's empowerment. They devised a system so they could nap on the job. A quote, ring-around system operated at Buckingham Palace to prevent officers from being caught by their supervisors sleeping on night duty. There were 2 outside posts to protect the garden area outside the Queen's bedroom. It was natural for us to go to sleep on night duty, and if a senior officer was coming to the garden, I would contact the control room to ring another post, said one guard. Everyone was awake until the governor did his checks and had a little chat and went away, then we'd be back to sleep. The guards would turn up to work drunk. Drinking was a quote, huge part of the culture among the Queen's guards. But such as the need to have a full relief of armed officers on duty at all times was said that even those who turned up smelling strongly booze were allowed to book out weapons and get on with the job. If they were seriously under the influence, they might be advised to sleep it off in one of the palace rooms, or even given medical relief in the form of, quote, a pack of mints. There was one incident when a senior official in the royal household was coming through the palace gates, and instead of lifting the barrier, a hungover officer accidentally pressed the underground ramp button, sending a woman's car into the air.
Meghan Markle has been the talk for quite some time now, and people have even speculated that she's been lying about a few things, which people were quick to call out. In this video, I'm going to talk about the top 10 times Meghan Markle's lies have been exposed. Number 10, Meghan said she was silenced. In the much talked about CBS interview with Oprah Winfrey that took place in 2021, Meghan was asked if she was silent or silenced, to where she said she was silenced, implying she had no freedom of speech. But that doesn't seem to be the case, as she was the guest editor for British Vogue magazine and had 73 public speaking engagements during the same time she claimed to have been silenced. Number 9, Meghan and Harry's secret wedding. Among one of the many things that were revealed during the CBS interview with Oprah were that Meghan and Harry got married in secret, 3 days before the vows were exchanged on national television. However, if that were the case, that would be illegal, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, who was one of the most powerful churchmen in Britain, would have been arrested for that. Number 8, Meghan and Harry wanted privacy in LA. Meghan claims that her and Prince Harry wanted to have a private life in LA, but Harry and the Late Late Show host James Corden were sitting on an open roof bus, riding around LA talking about everything that is far from private. That's the complete opposite of being private, as you're going on national television with talk show hosts out in public in LA where there's a lot of paparazzi, go on and say you're looking for a private life. Now, contradictory at its finest was met right there. Number 7, Meghan said that she had her passport taken away. Meghan claimed in her interview with Oprah that she had her keys, driver's license, and passport taken away from her, saying she was unable to leave. However, she went on 14 holiday trips with Harry to places like Amsterdam, Toronto, and New York. Meanwhile, she was spotted on Elton John's private jet at the same time she was lecturing the public about their carbon footprints. Number 6, Meghan said Archie was denied 24/7 protection because he wasn't a prince. But Archie was never going to be a prince until Prince Harry, Harry's father, became king on the death of the Queen. And that's going to happen whether the skin color of Archie's mother, whatever it is, if it's red, blue, or green. Now that was always set in stone. But now Harry and Meghan's children became Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, following the death of the Queen, and the change is a result of conventions created over 100 years ago. Number 5, Meghan claimed to have no involvement in the unofficial biography Finding Freedom. However, last year Meghan apologized to a court, claiming she forgot about emails sent by her and Prince Harry regarding their unofficial biography Finding Freedom. The correspondence was released and showed that the couple had heavily been involved with the press spokesman before the book's author 2 years ago. When Finding Freedom was published, a spokesman for the couple told the press association the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were not interviewed and did not contribute. Having previously denied any involvement, the Duchess of Sussex apologized to a court, claiming she forgot about the emails that were sent by her and Prince Harry regarding their unofficial biography talk. Number 4, Meghan said she had suicidal thoughts while she was pregnant with Archie. Now, Harry has always been speaking about mental health, and when Harry speaks about people who feel depressed or anxious or has suicidal thoughts, that they should go and get help immediately. Yet his wife was claiming that she was constantly feeling suicidal, and Prince Harry has never sought to help her. That is a little bit hard to believe, but that brings us into number 3. The royal family refused to help Meghan with her mental health. Now, Meghan broke down in tears in the Oprah interview, saying at times she felt like she didn't want to be alive anymore, but was told by the palace that she couldn't get help because it wouldn't be good for the institution. However, people don't believe that, and they do think it's a lie, as Prince Harry is attached to many of the biggest mental health charities in Britain. Number 2. Apparently Archie was refused a royal title because of his skin color. One of the major moments from Oprah that made headlines around the world was the allegation that Meghan made about racism within the royal family, including comments made about her unborn son's skin color. But someone revealed that it was a conversation Harry had with someone way before they got married, years before Meghan said it happened. But so far, that's all just he said, she said stuff. Number 1. Meghan claimed that Kate made her cry. Now, in the interview with Harry and Meghan with Oprah in 2021, Meghan was asked if she made Kate cry before the wedding, and Meghan said the reverse happened, indicating Kate made her cry. However, in a new biography titled Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors, states that Kate burst into tears. There have subsequently been claims that the Duchess of Cambridge went to apologize and Meg threw her a peace offering with flowers in the bin. Now, those are the top 10 times Meghan Markle's lies were exposed. I want to hear from you in the comments below what you think about all these lies. Do you think these are facts, or do you think someone is bending the truth?
Number 10, left because of racist allegations. During their interview with Oprah, the couple decided to spill the tea on a lot of the royal family's controversy. One of them included Prince Harry mentioning racism within the family during his time there with Meghan. This didn't stop at the family. Eventually, Harry believed all the UK was racist, specifically the media, towards his relationship with Meghan. Number 9, the royal family wanted Meghan to pursue acting again. When Harry was asked about this, he said, quote, "That was right at the beginning when she wasn't going to get security, when members of my family were suggesting that she carry on acting because there wasn't enough money to pay for her and all this sort of stuff." And this is just wild because the royal family has how much money? This was definitely their first telling that they didn't like Meghan at all. Number 8, the Queen couldn't make time for Meghan and Harry. When they stepped down from their royal duties, Meghan and Prince Harry said that the Queen had less time to spend with them, which was probably due to personal reasons, but nothing was disclosed. Harry further explained, quote, "That announcement that we put out on 8th of January in 2020, the contents of that was put into a letter to the institution, to my father, which was then shared at the end of December while we were in Canada, but then we get back on the 6th. Apparently, they would fly back to the UK only to get flopped on by the Queen herself." Number 7, Meghan was trapped. When Meghan first stepped into royalty, her duties and responsibilities as a person drastically changed. She was now the Duchess and had to act like one. She was still doing her royal duties, and she would often note the difficulty of it all, especially with having to deal with the media and some other royal members. It was as if she was trapped and had to act a certain way, or she would be judged heavily. I mean, it is the royal family at the end of the day. Number 6, Prince Charles. According to Prince Harry, after his departure from royal duties, despite what others think, he was still in contact with the Queen and Prince Charles. He said that he had at least 3 different conversations, but then he started to make his own strides. This is when they started to have a lot of issues with him and Meghan. Meghan would explain the frustration she and Harry felt, with Harry saying, quote, "I needed to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad it's gotten to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health." And at number 5, we have damaged mental health. In an interview, Meghan spoke about her time as a royal damaged her mental health to a point when she couldn't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. Number 4, baby Archie. When they had their baby, many of the questions were regarding how the son was going to look, specifically the color of his skin. This only adds more truth to the racist allegations, but hey, British media really cared about what color skin this baby was gonna have? Like, come on, can we do any better than this? Number 3, royal family gave zero support. As we know, the royal family was not happy about Prince Harry and Meghan stepping down from their royal duties. Meghan would say in an interview that no one else in the royal family ever supported her through her tough times, including that it only increased the hatred towards her in the social media. Media would present her as a cruel animal, but the royal family would be nowhere around her to help her out. Number 2, Meghan confided with Princess Diana's best friends. In an interview, Harry was asked how his mother, Princess Diana, would feel about all this ongoing controversy, saying, quote, "I think she would feel very angry with how this all panned out and very sad. But ultimately, as she would ever want is for us to be happy." And surprisingly, when Meghan was going through all forms of scrutiny, one of Diana's old best friends was the one to be there for her and comfort her. And at number 1 spot, an old journal. Meghan Markle has threatened that she has more secrets to share about the royal family in the future, according to a royal expert. A Daily Mail editor said, quote, "She made a series of very unsubtle hits that she could say a lot more in the future. It seemed to be very clear that they were threats, and she was coming across as saying, I can say these things, I've chosen not to."
WW2. When conflict was declared by the UK against Germany, the late Queen was still a princess. Elizabeth and her sister, Princess Margaret, had a special message via radio broadcast with children of the conflict, telling the youngsters, "We know that in the end all will be well, for God will care for us and give us victory and peace." According to the royal family website, and when peace comes, remember it will be for us, the children of today, to make the world a better place for tomorrow. She added per the transcript. In 1945, Elizabeth joined the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service under the name Elizabeth Windsor and was occasionally referred to as number 230873. According to BBC News, the then princess was trained as a driver and drove a military truck as part of her service. This was a moment of bravery as the late Queen as royalty made the choice to join the UK forces. If she was ginger, I'd call her brave. Wales mining accident. On October 21st, 1963, an avalanche of mud, water, and debris from a coal mine buried an elementary school in South Wales, village of Aberfan, taking the lives of 116 children and 28 adults. Other royal members visited the disaster site the following day, whereas the late Queen waited a week. She feared her presence would distract from rescue and recovery efforts. Some of those close to Elizabeth, including her former private secretary, have said she regretted the decision not to visit Aberfan sooner. I understand why she waited. It seems as if the public did not. Attempted assassination. Christo John Lewis was a criminal from New Zealand who failed oh so miserably at his attempted assassination of the Queen in 1981. The shock of an attempted assassination wasn't the main shock here. It was how the Queen handled it. Like a champ, she brushed it off like it was nothing. This proved that she was a G and not someone to mess with. This wasn't the only attempt either. There were 3 attempts of her assassination and she brushed them all off as if the armed men were just bad shots. That's the mentality we need from a queen. Her name. The late Queen Elizabeth's early reign was still dominated by traditions. At the time, a woman was supposed to take her spouse's last name when she married, but that was not the case for the Queen. She was pressured by Prince Philip, but she decided to go against his wish, broke tradition and kept her last name instead. I mean, if she doesn't care about attempted assassination, I don't think she's gonna care about our opinion on what her last name is. Hollywood hit. Queen Elizabeth demanded a crucial part when she agreed to appear alongside Daniel Craig in the James Bond sketch, which helped open the 2012 London Olympics. That is, to have a speaking role. Angela Kelly, the Queen's royal dresser and close confidant, disclosed this interesting tidbit in her new book. The Queen, the dresser, and the wardrobe. She recalled asking if the Queen wanted a speaking part. Without hesitation, Her Majesty replied, "Of course, I must say something. After all, he is coming to rescue me." I mean, Queen or not, who wouldn't want to talk to James Bond? Humor. Even in her 90s, the late Queen never lost her humor. During a 2-day tour to Ireland in 2016, when asked by Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness on how she was doing, she replied, "Well, I'm still alive." She added, "I've been quite busy. There's a lot going on." She also was reported to have quick-witted humor and knew how to make a crowd laugh. And even if you didn't laugh, she was the Queen, so that's just rude. Her distance traveled. This is insane. Ready for this statistic? During her reign, the Queen traveled over 1 million miles, or equivalent to 40 journeys around the world. That makes her easily the most well-traveled monarch in British history. To put that in perspective for you, that's really far. Jokes aside, around the world 40 times is crazy. The Queen visited over 100 countries as the head of state. She carried out roughly 21,000 engagements and hosted 113 head of states from other countries, including Emperor of Ethiopia, Japan's Emperor, and finally President Donald Trump. And she gave more than 180 garden parties at Buckingham Palace, attended by more than 1.5 million people. I think it's fair to say the late Queen lived a whole and fulfilling life. She knows Victoria's Secret. Corgis. I love dogs, they're best companion and pet, and if you like cats more unless you're allergic to dogs, you are a sour human. I'm joking, but at the same time a bit of me isn't joking. Me and the late Queen had this in common. The Queen famously loved corgis, owning over 30 of them in her lifetime, dating back to the first royal corgi, Dookie, in 1933. But her last corgi passed in 2018. She didn't want to breed any that would outlive her last dog. She did replace her dogs with 2 Dorgies, a crossbreed between a Dachshund and a Corgi, that the Queen is credited with inventing. Yeah, you heard that right. The Queen invented a whole new flippin' species of dogs because she was a G. My country, my rules. The Queen stood apart from British government affairs, but she wasn't above making a subtle political point. In 2003, she famously offered the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia a tour of Balmoral, her Scottish estate. The Queen took the wheel of a Range Rover herself. Women weren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia at the time, and the Crown Prince from Saudi Arabia was apparently nervous, and that was only increasing as the Queen, an army driver in conflict time, accelerated the Land Rover along the narrow Scottish estate road, talking all the time. Through his interpreter, the Crown Prince implored the Queen to slow down and concentrate on the road ahead. Longest reign. Queen Elizabeth was queen for 70 years and 214 days, making her the longest reigning British monarch and the second longest reigning monarch of all time. One of just 4 to rule for 7 or more decades. Just ahead of her is Louis of France at 72 years and 110 days, 1643 to 1715, who benefited from a head start, ascending the throne at just 5 years old. Just behind the Queen was the King of Thailand from 1946 to 2016, 70 years and 126 days, and Johann II of Liechtenstein, 1858 to 1929, 70 years and 90 days. I guess you could say she was born for the role. Thanks for watching.